So I'm reading this from one of your, I think this is from Asura, I picked this up. Quoting you, growing up in a village with more temples than was necessary, it was no wonder that the Ramayana fascinated me. Ironically, I was drawn to the anti hero of the epic, Ravana, and to his people, the Asuras. I wondered about their magical world. What is it about What is Ramayana? And what is it about Ramayana that kind of fascinated you, if I may say so, even from your very young days?
Ramayana perhaps might be the first, or not just the first, no, it is perhaps the perfect story ever written. I'm telling it as a story point of view. When you talk about stories, they have a rhythm, they have a, like any other art, there are certain rules for writing stories. Ramayana ticks all boxes.
Okay.
That is why it is so perhaps Ramayana is the most popular story in the world in human history, perhaps.
You mentioned the perfect story, like what do you mean?
See, it is Mahabharata is more scattered. If you see, Mahabharata is more deeper. But for understanding Mahabharata, you have to be born in Indian culture. And you cannot read Mahabharata. It's almost impossible to read Mahabharata.
Some 100,000 verses, no?
It's not just about the words. Mahabharata doesn't have a proper structure. It gets structured because orally we structure it.
Okay.
Otherwise, it goes on loop. If you try to read it, no, it is a flashback into flashback into flashback and loops, and it goes here, there, and comes back. It's very difficult to read Mahabharata as such unless you are academically interested. People will get bored if they read not the Amar Chitragada version, or which has been properly put into story format. The original Mahabharata, that itself, different versions are there. It becomes very tough to read it. Whereas Ramayana follows the classical, rather Joseph Campbell took it from that, the classical hero's journey. So imagine how Ramayana has been conceived. It talks about first a hero, the need for a hero. They first say what Ravana had done, the need for the hero, the difficult, a divine birth, a difficult and divine birth. This is a very typical prop of all, all the Puranas, mythologies and other things. There is a divine birth, there is a need for it. Through divine intervention.
Across religions as well, I think.
Across religions.
Even Christianity also, there is this divine birth.
Every religion, in Buddha's also it is there. So these are the things, we can always say these are like, some people tend to be hyper-rationalist and say that these are all idiotic and all. But human mind doesn't work like that. It's very fascinating to see how and why Ramayana influenced so many people. Because there is something which people can relate. Mahabharata is the next level when you go. Next level in the sense that you need to be grown up and very matured in life to understand.
When did we initially see the separation between Mahabharata? I think if I understand correctly, is Ramayana part of Mahabharata or is it separate from Mahabharata?
Ramayana, actually Ramopakhyana is there in Mahabharata because there is nothing which is not there in Mahabharata.
Okay.
Right. So Mahabharata has Ramayana, entire Ramayana in it. But as such, Ramayana is an independent work.
Can you speak about how did this part of why did Ramayana? There are so many things that are standalone stories in itself, right? In Mahabharata, why do you think Ramayana rose to prominence?
No, Ramayana didn't rose to prominence because it is there in Mahabharata. Mahabharata contains everything. That is why Ramayana also is there. A lot of other stories are also there in Mahabharata. Ramayana as such was much more popular and is much more popular than Mahabharata. I'm not talking about the urban youth who sometimes find Mahabharata very cool. I also like Mahabharata. But Ramayana has something in it which has appealed across generations, across civilizations, for mostly 3,000 to 4,000 or perhaps 5,000 years or perhaps more than that, we don't know. Because written format only they are telling 2,800 years and 3,000 years. But in India, things get to be written down after thousands of years of its existence. So this could have been carried forward for many, many thousands of years before it was written down. That proof is there in Ramayana itself. So, and Ramayana as such, there are fascinating stories in which it says that there are countless Ramayanas. In Ramayana itself it comes.
Right.
So, coming back to our question, why Ramayana fascinates me, it is not just about me. The Ramayana has fascinated whoever has come in touch with it, whether you are religious, irreligious, you are atheist, Because it works on the way in which it is conceived and written and how it evolved. As I said, it ticks all the boxes of story writing. So I take classes on story writing for many institutes and other places. So I keep telling, if you want to learn story writing, you should learn Ramayana, how it is structured. Not Mahabharata. If you want to read characters, then you have to read Mahabharata. All characters are fascinating in Mahabharata.
How much time do you think it will take for a person to read the Mahabharata completely in entirety?
I would suggest not to read, unless you are academically inclined, I would suggest not to read Mahabharata. Earlier in our homes, they used to put a superstitions for it, never read Mahabharata. It is nothing to do with superstition. Now I understand why they were telling that. It can confuse you a lot. A lay reader, Mahabharata can confuse you.
In terms of,
In terms of everything. In terms of story itself, timelines, stories. In terms of the philosophy, it eschews because it contradicts a lot of times. So you need a lot of maturity to understand Mahabharata. I would always suggest you cross 40 before you start reading, 40 or 50. Why I am telling that? You need an experience of life to appreciate Mahabharata. Whereas Ramayana is fascinating even for kids.
I was actually going through one of these. Recently, in preparation for all this, I've been taking a lot of religious courses as well. So yesterday, I was watching this lecture on Bible. Even though I'm a Catholic, I'm not very well versed in Bible studies, etc. So even the lecture, even the professor was saying that these holy books, they are given to children who are 5 years old to 10 years old. She says, you should at least be young adult or above a certain level of maturity, only because there is so much of blood, there is so much of at least in the Bible there's a lot of incestuous relation between brothers and sisters and violence and etc. So you need X amount of maturity to kind of really understand these things and try to put these things into perspective, and not learn every lesson, not take everything as is literally per se. So
see, the problem with any religious book is that they were written for a different era, on a different cultures, on different times. So the need for that period will be different from the need for this period. Its relevance also goes. So this question is asked in Ramayana also. That is why one of the characters, not very well known characters unless you are very deep into it, is a character called Kakabusundi. Kakabusundi is a crow. Okay. In Vasishtha's ashram. So Kakabusundi talks about multiverse. He talks about, when he is asked about Ramayana, he talks about multiple Ramayanas happening at different universes at different times with different results. Not just the same result. In some places, Ravan is the good character. In some places, Ram is the good character. In some places, Lakshman is the one who is killing Ravan. In some places, Indrajit wins. So he talks about multiple versions, and when he is asked which is the true one, he says everything is true.
Right.
So why is there so many Ramayanas? So he answers that Ramayana changes as per the period, as per the need of the people. Because the values change, moralities change. What was moral at some period? See, morality is something which it's not something natural, right? Morality is something which humans defined. If you look at the animals, there are the kind of morality what we say is not applicable for animals, right? Morality is something which, depending on the civilization, the moral code itself changes. What happens when religious texts become inflexible? And when they say that it cannot be revised, is that it slowly starts losing relevance as the human civilization progresses. They have to be like anything in, if we call them knowledge, the knowledge has to be refreshed every time. So why Ramayana was again and again rewritten according to the need of the times, and why it should be done so, what the rishis say, the saints say, is that otherwise it will keep on losing its relevance. Not just Ramayana, any religious text. So that is when we find that people get confused, saying that this is the truth of God and this is the truth and we should not change it, tamper with it. It's not tampering actually. It is like evolution. No? The human knowledge increases. What could have been, something which cannot be explained. The science explains it. So in Indian religions, you can see the evolution also. Once upon a time, they used to, during Vedic days, they used to pray to the natural forms like Indra, Varuna. Slowly, slowly, they lost relevance. And the new gods came, or new definition of gods came. There could be only, if there is a god, if at all, even that can be disputed in Indian darshanas. We call it, it's not religion per se. Indians, we call them darshanas or mata.
What is darshana?
Darshana is viewpoint.
Okay.
It's a way of seeing life. So as per us, as per Indians, every path is valid.
So, you mentioned multiple Ramayanas, etc. I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there is this tendency, and I think you also kind of alluded that there is this tendency to want to have this one book which may be like the supreme book or which cannot be tampered with. Why do you think?
I think that has got to do with getting influenced by the Semitic religions, which is very alien to India, like Christianity. Nothing derogatory about any religion. I am telling the nature of different ways the religions have evolved. Religions was a method to bring people together and achieve things easily. It was a method of unifying people. So different cultures have, depending on the geography, depending on the climatic structure, depending on the people, different religions have evolved differently. So if you see geographically, India is very blessed. Even now.
Why do you say that?
Look at the world civilization. Even now we have the biggest fertile land in the world.
The Gangetic Plains, you mean?
Not just Gangetic Plains. Entire India has so much fertile land. India has even now the most arable and fertile land in the world. When there is plenty, so up to the Britishers came, India remained the richest or the second richest country in the world.
Right.
Whether people were rich or not, that is separate. But the land, and some people in that were very, very rich. Because take the case of Europe or Arabia or whichever place where other religions had come. Most of the parts you cannot have food. You cannot grow food. So there's a fight for resources. When there is a fight for resources, a kind of exclusivity comes. Because it's a human tendency, that my way is the right way and other way cannot be made right, and there is only one way. There has to be a central authority because you can't survive. You are fighting for the limited resources. When places like India or China, southern China, most of the China is a desert or cannot be cultivated, but southern China is equally fertile land. These parts where the religions evolved, it's a land of plenty, so you can afford to have whichever viewpoint you want. It doesn't matter. You are not fighting for resources. You have rains 365 days you can cultivate at most of the places, which is not possible in many other parts of the world. This resulted in having multiple versions, contradictory versions, which gave the people a lot of confidence also. No? Then they won't say, you are right. Now, let us look at today's time. Today, people accept, generally, I'm not talking about very religious, cultish people and all, generally 99% of the people accept all points of view. That's also why, because we live in an era of plenty. There are no famines. We live in an era of plenty. So that's a natural tendency of any culture, any part of the world. It has got nothing to do with DNA or other things. Any part of the world, when there is enough to eat, enough prosperity, we tend to accept all points of view. So now you can see that the West is more prosperous, and the West accepts all form of thoughts, criticisms and all. This was true about India also. When it had sufficient wealth, it accepted all forms of darshanas. So three of the six darshanas when they talk, the major six darshanas when they talk, three of them are atheistic or agnostic in nature. Even atheism was accepted. Now if you see in West, atheism is accepted. Which communities the atheism will not be accepted? The places where there are fight for resources. Now what is happening, because of the contact with the Semitic religions, there is a kind of defensive mechanism going on, and there is a kind of imitation of, I had written it in some articles also about it. It's a Semitification of or Abrahamification of Hindu religion which is going on now, which was never the case in its long history. Now they are trying to make one Ramayana or one Mahabharata, the Gita as the holy book, Gita as the equivalent of Quran or Bible. In Hinduism, there is nothing like the book. Gita is holy. For Hinduism, Quran also is holy. For Hinduism, Bible also is holy. For Hinduism, Buddha is also an avatar. For Hinduism, atheism is also holy. It's also accepted. All darshanas are accepted. So Gita cannot be the supreme book. Gita is as holy or not holy as any other book. It was always like that. It was only during the freedom struggle period when this kind of change started happening. When we started imitating the British, we started imitating others, thinking that we should also have the holy book, the Gita. Until then you really see Gita is many of the great saints who have translated Mahabharata to respective Indian languages, classical languages, they had even avoided Gita. Like in Malayalam, Eruthachan, when he translated Kalipa to Mahabharatam, he didn't have Gita at all. Saraladas, when he translated, he had taken out the Gita. It was only holy, as much holy as any other Puranas or Shiva Puranas or Vishnu Puranas or Bhagavatam or even Charvaka Darsana. It is as holy as that or not as holy. It is one among many books. So there was nothing equivalent of Bible or Quran in Hinduism.
So it's just like, I mean, we saw that there were other religions which had like one book, and was it like, we felt FOMO, they say FOMO, right? I mean, that fear of missing out.
See, it is easier to, if there is one book, it's easier to unite people, right? If there is one book, one God, it's easier to bring together the people.
Right.
And
homogenize
everyone and lead people to wherever you want.
And also, I think one book, also, I mean, there are obviously problems of interpretation, but you can at least point to one truth kind of per se. But if there are multiple versions, anything becomes like the truth, and you can sort of...
Ideally, anything should become the truth. Right?
Definitely, sure.
Because it's about perception. Again, I'm coming back to the Darshana thing, right? It's how you perceive the world need not be the same.
Right.
Why should you insist that I am not a sheep to be led? I am an independent person. So, I should know here whether it is Hinduism, Buddhism or Jainism or even whatever grew in China or Japan, these kind of places, religion is very personal.
Right.
It's not congregational. Congregational is what? You assemble in a church, you assemble in a mosque, and there you pray to one God. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but these are two different forms of looking at it. There one person says this is right and everybody follows. There is a shepherd and there are sheep. Here, so there it is like you are taking the people to a path. That's one method of leading people. The other method is like focus on individualism. So what evolves? Meditation evolves, yoga evolves,
Zen Buddhism and all.
Zen Buddhism evolves. They are saying that whatever you perceive, you will have to know God. It is not be with God. It is not you yourself becoming God is the concept of many of the Eastern religions. So you are perceiving it first through your meditation, through your experience. Your truth is only your truth. It need not be my truth. So two different ways of looking at things. When you try to imitate, see, there are problems with this. Sociologically also, there are good things also. For any system, there is no system which is perfect. Everything has pluses or minuses. Logically, if you analyze, this is my analysis. I don't want anyone to agree with it. People are free to disagree. That's how Indian darshanas are. No, it's all on samvad, the debate. You say something, I say something counter to that. That's why, and we try to understand it. There is nothing like, even Gita is a debate. Upanishads are a debate. They are never commandments. Because after Gita, Krishna says, I have told the deepest of the wisdom as per me. Now it is up to you to accept it or not. You use your intelligence and accept it. He's not saying you don't do it, you will end up in hell. So there is no fear and temptation thing. Rather, it is more logical and rational. You may reach irrational conclusion depending on your intelligence and understanding. But the method is logical and rational. Whether you are reaching rational conclusion depends on your rationality, right? It's not the problem of the method. and all are accepted. So coming back to what you had asked, the advantages of this method, congregational method, no, that
The one book per
is
se.
there is a leader, right? There is a leader.
Is that an advantage though?
Huh?
Is that an advantage?
It is an advantage for the system.
Okay.
If I am the leader, it's advantage for me.
For you.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what does organized? So it's called organized religions and disorganized religions, right? So organized religions, even Buddhism attempted a part of it. Advantage is that this can expand very fast. It's like democracy versus autocracy. No, can almost say advantages and disadvantages of both. I will not even say democracy is the best system, or there are no advantages of autocracy. Autocracy also have advantages. It has disadvantages also. So what it does is, you need not think much if you are a follower. You just follow what the leader says. Life is simpler. Life is easier. Second advantage, no? You do this, God is pleased. You don't do this, instructions are clear cut. You are not confused about life.
Right.
You can pursue with other things, not worry about all these things.
The truth is kind of given to you. You don't have to search
See,
for the truth.
actually,
per se.
really, see, 99% of the people, are they bothered about truth? They are bothered about their living.
Right,
So
right.
for living, this becomes easier. Second thing, theoretically, practically, because of human nature, it differs. You see very many cults and differences and slavery and all those things evolved. But theoretically, if you go by, say, Bible or Quran, whoever is following this particular God, they believe it is the truth. That is their darshana, nothing wrong about that, their way of knowing. Whoever is believing that is equal before God.
Right.
It creates an equality and brotherhood, theoretically. Practically, because of human nature, there are different churches, different issues. That's a separate thing. We're talking about theory. So it creates brotherhood. It creates uniformity. These are the advantages of it. There is a leader who can lead it. If the leader is good, they can lead it. They can reform it. They can lead it to certain things. They can group. They can achieve a lot of things. Disadvantage. It goes against rationality. Because as I said, time evolves, science evolves, knowledge evolves. It stands still. So for stability, that is good.
It takes time to kind of, to bring in new ideas.
When did science evolve? When the Europe came out of the clutches of church.
Right.
But it gives kind of stability. So if you want to go to a war, conquering the world, creating more people, do colonization. If you really see these religions, whether Islam also expanded, Christianity also expanded, no disrespect to anything, I'm just looking at academically.
Right.
Other one, like the other religions, no, there the advantage is individuality, freedom. It's like working for a company and being a freelancer. Individuality, freedom, but the problem is it can create disunity among people because everybody has their own opinion. It's like a lot of freelancers working together. It could be very creative as a positive mind, so a lot of arts will evolve. Music, art, and even if you see the music in India, is very individualistic, right? See the difference of it. How is orchestra conducted? It is practiced, and as a group they practice, and everything is written, and everything. It follows the same philosophical method. They practice, and the orchestra is conducted. How is a Carnatic concert or a drum concert, like in Kerala, the Chanda and other things concerned? No? There is a system in place. There are rules. Everybody learns individually. No, two Carnatic musicians can come together for the first time and do a concert without any practice. Two Hindustani, they can do the concert without practice. Individually they practice. I am saying rehearsal together, like an orchestra. You do not rehearse together. I know this, you know the system, because there is room for individualism even when you are interpreting the music.
Right.
Because you are interpreting the music every time. You are experience the music when you are singing. The listener is experience the music. The other one goes on technical perfection, perfect rules, perfect commandments, rules. You don't even have written notations in Indian music, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
We
that.
don't have any written. Traditionally, there is no written notation as such. I am not an expert in music, but my observation I am telling. So, these religions which are not congregational, Buddhism is a congregational religion, okay, but the other like Hinduism and other religions, what it does is essentially there is no need to go to temple. You can be a Hindu without going to temple. There is nothing like every Friday or every Sunday you'll have to go. There is no rules like at particular time you'll have to pray. You pray, you don't pray, it doesn't matter. It has a sort of inclusiveness in it. In the sense that all are accepted. So the Aghori who eats flesh, human flesh, Aghoris sometimes eat human flesh. Their philosophy is very deep. But because that is the...
Aghoris are characters in Ramayana.
No. Aghoris are like living Naga sadhus and other people. Not all of them
Today?
do that. Today. From the cremation grounds. Because for them, their philosophy, I had met a few of them, so it was fascinating to talk to them, to understand it. No? Not judge anyone.
Yeah, again, I'm not passing a value judgment here, but is that legal though? I mean, I thought cops...
Legal or illegal?
In that part, I mean, they don't... I mean...
There are many things which you can't control legally or illegally.
True, okay.
It's not that they eat human flesh as a cannibals, no. They don't do that from the dead body.
Okay, so cannibalism is eating human
Killing
flesh.
somebody and eating it, no.
Understood.
This also technically it comes, I'm not going into the meaning of the word.
But this is very fascinating actually, I didn't know about this.
They and the people who won't even eat onion, because when you are taking out onion or potato, it can kill even the worms, like Jains, highly motivated Jains, highly religious Jains, they sweep the floor. They don't wear clothes because it's himsa.
Right.
So that both can coexist, and both are accepted. In the sense, see this Aghori, the one Naga Sadhu told me this when I met him near Pashupatinath temple in Nepal once during one of my visits. I was just talking, sitting and chatting. So their theory is like this: everything is holy.
Okay.
Everywhere God resides. Everything, it could be his own philosophy, not the total Nagana, because it's individual philosophy. His thing I am quoting. Even in shit, God is there, because it's God's creation. We don't discriminate. Everything is equal for us, and that's why we are doing this. This is their way of looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
One way it is very deep. Everything is deep. We find the presence of divine. We won't say this is bad, this is good. Even in dirt, God is there. In trees, God is there. In bacteria also, God is there. In animals also, God is there. In humans also, God is there. It doesn't matter whether you are a male or female. It doesn't matter which race, which caste you come from. We find divine. We find the Shiva everywhere. That's one way of looking at it. See the other extreme. Those people also have talked. So nothing is my knowledge. I'm just passing on whatever I got. I'm fascinated about this country because so much varied thoughts are there. Other thought is that I will not create harm for anyone.
This is again the Aghori, is it?
No, this is the people who are strict vegetarian or strict vegan or strict Jains and some of the Hindu sadhus.
I had come across the story, that the thing that you mentioned about Jains, I think sweeping. I think that's because they don't want to harm anyone when they take a step. Right?
When they are taking a step, it should not harm even a worm.
Right.
So this is like extreme ahimsa. So one side you are accepting the people who can eat shit or cadaver, to the people who think that even wearing clothes could harm something and I won't harm something. In modern era, both will get ridiculed.
Right.
Because we try to tend what is decent, what is moral in a small bracket. Whereas a traditional society, there was place for everyone. So people could wear burqa, people could walk naked. If you really observe India, especially if you ask me, many parts of rural India in the north, because south has become urbanized and lost the way of living. Here in the southern India, religion has become more of a show off in the temple.
Okay.
Go to temple, it is slowly getting homogenized. Whereas you go to Kumbh Mela, you go to northern India, the urban classes of northern India have totally lost, which the south still keep some part of their tradition and culture. But I'm talking about the rural North India, where, if you ask me, India has not changed much. It's fascinating to travel in all these places. What do you find in a street? There could be a naked sadhu walking without nobody commenting on it, and a lot of burqa clad women will also be walking. Both are accepted. That is India for you. There will be a person going in a BMW or Mercedes, stopping and touching the cow. Accepted. He could be a scientist. Accepted. Today morning I am an atheist. Afternoon I am in the temple. That's also accepted.
Right.
So this acceptance is what makes what I said, the non-Abrahamic religions more fascinating. The problem with that is there could be some people will start thinking what we are doing is holy, and those people who are not doing it are below us. That's how the caste system perhaps would have evolved. I eat only veg. I am right because I don't hurt anyone. A kind of vanity is coming. I don't hurt anyone. I am not doing violence, so I am great. Other people are under me. So that kind of vanity comes, and the society could become segregated into many parts naturally. It's not that somebody did it by design or anything. Naturally, it gets segregated because of that.
Right. I've also heard that one of the things that people, at least in the lower caste, end up doing is trying to emulate people in higher caste, like how you mentioned.
That is there everywhere. No, that is why that even now we do. Why are we talking in English now? Because the world language, if you see, different part of time, different languages was a language of science. Sometimes it was Sanskrit, sometimes it was Tamil, sometimes it was Arabic, sometimes it was Chinese, sometimes it was Latin, and now it's the time of English, last 250 years. So once upon a time, everybody wanted to learn Sanskrit. There was a kind of Indianization, like now we try to imitate America. See, that is a kind of natural human tendency where whichever the country is richest, you try to imitate them. Now, as of now, last 200 years, the West holds the key. Most of the scientific developments, the wealth, they had, of course, you can always ascribe reasons to that, like colonization, slavery, and all, but all said and done, they came out of the clutches of religion, they used their rationality, they used science and technology to leap forward, and of course, they exploited a lot. That also is a human nature. When you can exploit, why you should not exploit? It's right, wrong is a separate definition. Always you do something and then justify. That's what history says. The winner justifies everything. But as of now, last 200 years, they hold the key of science, technology, progress. Maybe China, India, Japan and all may catch up, or slowly catching up. China is almost there. We may or may not catch up, depending on how well we can manage the society without much conflict.
But we'll be dead, by that time.
We don't know. We may be dead. See, suddenly things change. It can change to worse. It can change to good also. For a long time it goes on and on and on, and suddenly who thought that Martin Luther King will come? Suddenly who thought that Gandhi will come? Suddenly who thought that it bursts? It goes on. It's like a volcano. We don't know when it's going to burst. A lot of things will be bubbling down. It can go down the drain like how Pakistan has gone. It can go up like how China went. We are at the cusp of history. It depends on us how it is going to go.
What do you make of this? How important do you think is, like, you mentioned these names like Martin Luther King and Gandhi and all that. How important is it for like a strong leader? Do you think it's very important that a strong leader emerges at crucial points in history, or do you think?
See, it is nothing like strong leader should emerge or should not emerge, but the leaders have changed the world. It depends on. There is one form of theory, especially the Marxian theory, which they say that depending on the solution, depending on the need, the society, the leader evolves. But I would say the other way around also is possible. The leader can change the course of history, how it is done, how it is not done.
Put his own ideas into.
See, strong leaders have advantage and disadvantage, as I earlier said. Strong leaders, again, is like a very, it will have all the advantages of organized religion, Abrahamic religions and all the disadvantages of that. A strong leader could give you a structure and an organization and materialistic progress perhaps. But what a strong leader does, whenever you have seen in history, whenever strong leaders have come, mostly it has resulted in violence, wars, most of them. even when they are, even when they preach non-violence.
Right. And it's
Ultimately, it ends
Yeah.
up in violence.
Right,
Take
right,
the
right.
example of Gandhi. It might not be his fault that it ended up in non-violence. I mean, such a huge violence. But after Hitler's Second World War thing, which was a war, we killed maximum number of people in the civil war, right? After preaching the entire non-violence for 50, 60 years, it ended up in the greatest violence.
You mean the partition killings, is
Definitely
it?
partition.
Understood.
We ended up in the violence. So even when Gandhiji was an autocrat, if you ask me,
Right.
he was a Mahatma, no doubt, whichever, depending on your definition. I have a lot of respect for him, even though I don't agree to many of his things. But ultimately, what is the result? Ultimately, what happened is, I don't care whether the nation got partitioned or not, because geographical boundaries, India never was. Again, that's another topic, big topic. There are two ways of unity. One could be the cultural unity. The other could be cultural unity in the sense, again, you should not think it in the Western sense, that everybody follows the same culture, or the Chinese sense, everybody follows the same language, same religion, same. No. Cultural unity is about finding the common way of thinking. You could be speaking 100 languages.
Mm-hmm.
But the moral codes are somewhat similar for the entire thing. Like take the 17th century India, for example, or 16th century India, for example, or go further beyond 12th century or whatever. You take pre-modern India. There were hundreds of countries. Geographically, nationalistically, there were hundreds of countries.
Even in India, I would say. I mean,
Even
like
in
all
India
these
only.
princely.
India
Yeah,
only.
right,
There
right,
were
right.
hundreds of countries.
Right.
That's what I said. Take the time of Vijayanagara Empire, 13th century to 16th century, 15th century, mid 15th century, hundreds of big empires.
Right.
Some places Muslim could be king, some places some other person could be king. But pilgrims used to travel all the way from, say, Kerala or Tamil Nadu to UP or Kashmir, vice versa, to Rameshwaram, to other places. There was a free movement of people and trade. Kings used to fight wars. So national unity is not important, it's the people's unity or geographical unity, which is more important. So the partition, whether Pakistan became a separate entity or not, it is immaterial. What ruptured was the social fabric. The social fabric ruptured, and on the basis of religion, we started killing each other, which is very. It is not in the nature of India to do that. That kind of violence.
Yeah, can you just comment on that? In the sense that I've also heard arguments that, like how you mentioned, so post 1947, now it's sort of a fact that Pakistan became a Muslim majority state, and it's so, like a lot of people kind of imagine India to be like a Hindu majority state, or like a Hindu dominant state, in the sense like how the partition itself feeds into people's imagination, like religion is the most important, like
because Pakistan was sought and made on the basis of religion. Maybe a British trick, but it's a fact that Pakistan was sought and made on the basis of religion.
Did we think like that, like pre
See,
colonial
if you
like was religion like the most important thing for Indians before that?
Religion, again, what is the definition of religion? Hinduism, you cannot define it as a religion actually, in the conventional sense. If Islam and Christianity are religions, there are hundreds of religions in India in Hinduism.
Mm-hmm.
Because Hinduism is like an umbrella of many beliefs and non-believers. It's an umbrella of it. By default, Hinduism, there is nothing like, there is no exclusivity in Hinduism by default.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when there was no democracy, even when the kings were ruling, and when even casteism was rampant, blatant casteism was rampant, we should not shy away from saying that, when it was, and it was so inhuman, one of the most inhuman systems. Even when that was rampant, these conservative kings could accept people without violence, could accept peoples of different religions, give them space in the society, and made them the part of the society. Take the example of Cochin, for example, the Chera kingdom of Cochin. It's a very ancient empire, very, very Hindu in its nature until 1947. Very religious kings. They had space for, when the Jews came, they had space for them.
Right.
When the Christians came,
I think-
Syrian Christians came, they had space for them.
I think it's the last Jewish community in India, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong. The Cochin one you're talking
Yeah.
about.
So a place like Fort Cochin, Matanjeri has around 63. It's a real cosmopolitan city in the world, or was a real cosmopolitan. 63 ethnicities in 5 square kilometers. People professing religions from animism of Africa to Orthodox Christianity, to Armenian Christianity, to Catholics, to Latin Catholics, to Roman Catholics, to Gujarati Marwaris and Gujaratis, to Jains, to Buddhists, to Hindus of different faiths and cults. It's mind-boggling. Different to Parsis, 63 communities, each having its own street, all coexisting together. This was India for you. Every religion is. What is secularism? There are two ways of looking at secularism. One way is the French method,
Which is?
which
The
is
separation of-
Ajaya called French method is French are the most aggressive people who propagate that method. That method is like, I won't allow any religion. No religion is special. I won't allow any religious symbols or signs to be used in public. The religion will be, technically it is wrong for France also, because they use parts of Christianity in their public thing, including the many of the national symbols, but
Okay.
still, but that's their heritage. It's more than to do with religion. But I won't allow anyone to, I won't go, the Prime Minister will not go to church when he is in the office. The President will not go to church
Oh,
when
really?
he is in the office,
Okay.
because that is the hyper-secularism. That's one method of looking at it, which is fair.
I actually like that.
Actually like that. Okay. Now there is the traditional Indian method of secularism. That is, I accept everything.
Traditional Indian, you mean?
Traditional Indian. I don't mind you wearing burqa. I don't mind the Sikh wearing a turban. I don't mind a Brahmin walking half naked on the road. I don't mind a Jain walking full naked on the road. I don't mind if my temple is here opposite mosque is there and he is praying, and here the temple festival is going, they are playing. You come to Trivandrum. Why I'm telling you, traditionally I'm telling you, come to Trivandrum, in one junction you have got 4. Most of the South Indian cities you would have seen that. Why I'm not taking specifically many of the North Indian cities? Because there these religions came through many a times through invasions. So there have been violent confrontations. Whereas South, the traditional structures remained until 1947. So the kings, in front of King's Palace itself, you can find mosque, you can find church, you can find the traditional big temple, all celebrating the festivals together. Everything is permitted. That was a traditional Indian secularism. In a multicultural country like India, if you try to do the French kind of secularism, where I won't allow anything, you take out a lot from people's life. What does religion do? Religion has a lot of negative points. But one of the positive points of religion is it's a crutch. It's a stick for a sick man.
Okay. Why do you say that?
This is an example which I didn't say. This is quoting Ramakrishna, Sri Ramakrishna. When, again, whether the story is true or not, it doesn't matter. This is a story which I heard, I'm telling. I derive a lot from an oral story. So, Vivekananda was arguing with Ramakrishna about the presence of God and whether God is there or not. Vivekananda was an atheist, sworn atheist.
Really?
Before he converted to, before he found Ramakrishna, and still his books are very rational. Rationality is one method of approaching things.
Because I know him from, I think he went to that Hinduism conference in Chicago, I think.
That is on his later stage. No?
Oh,
So I am talking about, see, Hinduism itself is not a necessarily theistic religion. What happens, English is not enough to describe Indian terms.
Understood.
So the moment because English evolved after Christianity had reached Europe. English is a very recent language. So what happens, many of the terms like capitalizing God and the rest of things, gods, like small letter, these are all very culturally biased to that. So many of the definitions when you say, the English definitions, it will not apply to, like, the term religion won't apply to Hinduism perhaps. There is nothing called Hinduism. Nobody, until say 16th or 17th century, like you go to Ajaya Chola, the big, great king who built the maximum number of temples, and tell him Hindu, he might not even recognize that word. But it doesn't matter. It's about the philosophy, the darshanas we are talking about.
Also, apparently, the word Hindu was not even used until
Why should
18th century. No,
why should no? Shivaji was fighting for Hindavi Swaraj, so before that itself it was used.
Okay.
But that is like whether 16th century, 17th century, it's a relevant discussion. No, like it's just another word. We are not talking about. We are not discussing about semantics. We are talking about what is relevant to people or not. You call it Hindu, you call it Sanatana, you call it any name, it doesn't matter. So coming back to the story, so he said, Ramakrishna said, have you observed the kids? Vivekananda said, yes. He was doubtful. Yes. Have you observed young people? Vivekananda said, yes. Have you observed old people? He said, yes. Now you have the answer of the question. Why people want God?
Okay.
Vivekananda thought about it and then the answer came. It's like when you are learning to walk, when you are weak, when you are getting into this thing, you want the kids use that, what do you call?
The extra wheels, you mean?
They have this to learn to walk. Like
oh,
the walker,
yeah, right.
walker they need,
Right.
they use it. When you are strong enough, when you are youth, you run, you walk your own, you don't need that. When you are old in the sense, old could be through years, or when you are tired, you are having weak in mind, you are going through a crisis, that's all old age, as per our definition, these are all old age. When you are having dukkha, when you are having this thing, you need something to hold.
Mm-hmm.
That time, that stick is God. It's one definition of it. I'm not saying that is the definition. There is no the definition. That's one definition of it. So, Ramakrishna says, if you mock somebody going to the temple using your rationality, you are like that young man who is mocking an old man, or a man without, a man who is handicapped, or a man who is sick, or a baby who is learning to walk. You are mocking him. What a fool you are. You are throw away that stick.
Mm-hmm.
You are able to stand because you don't need that stick now. So you can have rationality.
But is there no alternative to, like, let's say, religion? Do you think religion has like this this unique position where, you spoke about these crutches, right? Like for a young man or for an old man, whenever they are in times of difficulty, they go to religion per se. But is there anything else I can choose from, let's say, I don't know, literature or...
Definitely, no. So that is the essence of Indian darshanas, no. You choose your path. Nobody is going to force you. So if music suits you, Nata Brahman, music is God. If dance suits you, do the dance. There is no need to go to a temple. There is no need to appease a priest. There is no need to throw a coconut. Whatever floats your boat. That is religion here.
Mm-hmm.
You feel nothing is required, I am not going anywhere, and I laugh at the Vedas, accept it. Because it is not meant for you, that's all. Only thing, even if you mock, nobody used to care. But only thing is that you are a foolish man to mock, or you are a foolish woman to mock. That's all. Mm-hmm. The same example what Ramakrishna gave. No? You should be such a big idiot to mock an old man walking with a stick. You don't have need doesn't mean that he doesn't have the need. He has a need for it. That's why he uses it. Tomorrow he is all right. He will throw away the stick.
So just on the mocking, I mean, I'm also not passing any value judgments per se, but do you think people who are atheist in general, and I have noticed this as well, I feel, they tend to kind of look down upon, what is that? When will you grow up? That mentality.
When will you grow up is like they are taking everybody as children.
Right.
But there could be old men also. I'm telling it as an example. Old men, don't take it literally. Mm-hmm. There will be people who have already passed their stage. So you will see many atheists becoming believers during their last, when they are old.
Oh, really? Okay.
Lot of them become.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of them take solace with some cult guru and all those things. Mm-hmm. What is important is not to pass the judgment on either of this. There is nothing to look upon if somebody is devotional. Like he's somebody great and I go to temple, hence I am great. No, it just means that it just means you are taking medicine. You have some problem now. You are taking medicine. Mm-hmm. This religion is soothing you. It's a balm for you. It's a medicine for you. As long as you don't trust that medicine on me, I don't care.
Right.
Like This is to a devotional people, no? You are very devotional. You go to temple, you go to church, you go to mosque, wherever you want. It suits. I'm talking from Indian Darshana point. I'm not talking it in an Abrahamic sense where you may get excommunicated from the church and society and all. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Indian way of thinking. Today, tomorrow, if I feel like going to church, I can go to church and come back. Still, I will remain Hindu. This phase of my life, I am an agnostic or an atheist. As of now. Maybe tomorrow I will change. Today afternoon I may change. Because man keeps changing. No, the Gandhiji, when he was asked why he changed his opinion, he says the same thing. No, I am committed to the truth. I am not committed to my opinion.
Right.
Only an idiot will be committed to his opinion. For me, as of now, as I perceive the world, for me, I don't find the need for God as of now today. Tomorrow, whether I will find it, I am open to that. Don't close your eyes to the experiences.
In general, also, I feel, I don't think people generally appreciate. I mean, if somebody changes their mind, people label them as, I don't know, flip-flop. I feel people, there should be more acceptance of people changing their viewpoints. I mean, I feel nowadays...
you know how the debates were conducted in India?
I have no idea.
Earlier India, they used to have a lot of philosophical debates. A lot of these kind of thinkers used to sit together and like Shankaracharya conquered everywhere. He didn't go like Alexander with an army, kill people and conquer. It is like he went from various scholarly places where scholars of all religion, all philosophies, including atheists will come and they will debate. It was never like the TV show debate, like the nation wants to know the truth kind of debate, because how do you care whether the nation, what is nation? You want to know the truth, right? What they used to do is, if you and I are debating, both of us will wear a garland. It's India, no? You don't wear a shirt usually, at that time at least. Both of you wear a garland. You start debating. How is one of the tests of deciding, because mostly both will be great scholars, so it's very difficult to understand for a layman who has won this thing. One is they were gentlemanly enough to accept defeat or not, but sometimes at the heat of the moment doesn't happen. Remember the word heat of the moment. They are wearing a jasmine garland or some garland on that. Whosoever's garland wilts first because of the body heat. No, you are getting angry. When you get angry, when you don't have anything logical to say. If you are confident about your truth, you tell any provocative thing, as long as I remain confident and as long as I am open to it. Sometimes perhaps I am wrong and I accept it also, I accept it calmly. The moment the emotion comes on your argument, like our TV debates, this starts wilting, is what they thought, or mostly it happens also. So whosoever's garland wilts, he loses the argument. So the arguments were settled not through sword, not through saying that my path is the right path and if you don't follow the path, you are damned and you are going to hell and I am going to kill you because you don't believe. Arguments were settled like this. Whoever remains calm when he is arguing and is able to put across his point logically. This was for Pandits, not for the common man. Later, when this kind of philosophies became too obtuse and too difficult to understand, then the Bhakti era and other things started. It was also a response for the invasions when it happened. See, human mind cannot conceive many of the complexity of the world. Even now, we don't understand even 1% of the complexity. If you think we can understand the complexity of the world, read quantum physics for 5 minutes and you will understand we know nothing. Even quantum scientists don't know anything. I cannot understand 1% of what I read most of the times. It makes me thinking. I'm more confused most of the times, and I like being confused also because it constantly churns the mind. Instead of believing that this is the truth and I won't budge from the truth, I am willing to accept everything what I have said so far as totally wrong the moment I am convinced about that. And I am every time questioning whether my beliefs are right. So whatever I said, maybe after 10 minutes, I may say, yeah, you are right, Ryan. I think it's totally stupid things which I have said. That flexibility is what Indian religions always give. But so when the Bhakti era came, what it did was, this cluster of thoughts, mostly contradicting thoughts. Stood no chance again to make, like in advertisement they say, keep it simple, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
There is no comma there. Keep it simple and stupid actually is
Okay.
what it means. It doesn't when you talk about such big philosophy, even I am sure I am confused, I am sure you also might have been confused when I am telling this. When you talk about these kind of philosophies about say Mayavada, imagine talking to a layman
Mm-hmm.
that the world is an illusion. Scientifically, yes, the world is an illusion. There is no doubt about that. Simple test, just go out on a night, not in Chennai or Bangalore or Mumbai, to some countryside, look at the sky.
Okay.
You have Mayavada for you. The world is an illusion for you, is on your face.
Really?
Just think about it. You just look at it, forget all literature, religion and all. Just go by science. You just go look at the top. There are billions of stars.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a polluted city, in any country place. Like I have my writing retreat in Wayanad, where I can see almost all stars. Wayanad in Kerala, where I have a resort and where I go to write. I can see almost all stars in the night, except during the rainy season. I keep just lying on my back and looking at that, doing nothing. I love to do that because you are looking into time, to the past, to the future. When you are seeing some light is coming, that would have started. You have this app, in your phone. You have this app of Sky View or many other apps.
Uh-huh.
You can see how far each of the stars you are staring at are. Some are 300 light years away, some are 3000 light years away, some are 1 billion light years away. That means what? The light from there started 1 billion years ago or 100,000 years ago, and it's reaching you now. That star would have died, but yet you are seeing the star now.
Oh, really?
Isn't it? Scientifically, isn't it? The light takes so much time. So light takes 100 years. The star died 20 years ago. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
But you are still seeing the star and believing that that star is there.
Mm-hmm.
You are seeing blank space in between. Some star or universe would have been born there. Some constellation would have come there. It is 5,000 light years away. Now you are seeing a blank space and thinking that there is nothing. But actually there is a huge constellation which is 10 times bigger than Milky Way, which has already come there. And you perceive it as nothing. So you perceive what is there, what is not there as there. The star whose light it is reaching, which has died, you think that the star is still there. And the constellation from where the light is yet to reach you, but it is actually there. You think that it is not there.
It's not there.
This is Maya, this is illusion. So you are living in illusion and simulation. So this is the basis of your Advaita and Mayavada. But try telling that to a common man. This needs a certain kind of reading and understanding or perception to understand it. You'll have to think it over many times. And ideally you should lie down and watch it, experience it. Thinking won't do or saying won't do to
Right.
understand.
Actually, even I'm also like completely confused. Yeah. So.
No, you got what I...
No, I got what you're saying, but I mean, I think there is a difference when you hear it from someone, but actually when you get to experience it or just.
This is the difference between the congregational preaching religions and the experimental and experiential religions like Hinduism or Buddhism or anything. So Buddha said this correctly. Don't believe anything just because it is told in some scriptures. Don't believe anything just because someone has told you. Don't believe because your teachers have told you. Don't believe because I in the sense Buddha here. I'm quoting Buddha. The Buddha has told you. Unless you experience it. And only if you experience it, it remains the truth. And it remains your truth.
Right. Because I've kind of verified it from my own experience. Yeah.
So, but all things, whether you can verify, it is not practically possible. Now, whether there is Mount Everest, I have seen it from a distance. So now I have not climbed it. I have to believe the people who go there. But it is still a belief. I have not experienced it. Is there North Pole? I have not been to North Pole. I have seen videos. I have seen people going there. So certain things you accept it without experiencing. But whether you really want to experience that North Pole exists, you'll have to go there and know that. Otherwise, it is all on your perception and your belief.
Right.
So coming back to that, if you tell all these things to a layman, he is not bothered about it. No, he wakes up in the morning, he wants his food, he doesn't have food, he's starving, and you go and tell him Mayavada, food is an illusion, he will ban you with whatever it is in your hand. For simple lives, you need simple solutions. So this is where the Abrahamic religions comes to a great solace. So when Hinduism confronted this, it was such a big challenge. See the simplicity of Christianity, for example. Of course, Christian thoughts have a lot of deep philosophical meanings into it if you go into the meditations and all those things, all those books. But practically, it is very simple. No? Christianity or Islam is very simple to understand. It doesn't have any complication of Hinduism or Buddhism or Taoism or anything like that. God created the world. When you mix rationality, science into that, you get confused. And imagine you are a 10th century peasant. Somebody is coming with this religion. See how simple it is. God created the world. 6 days he created, 7th day he rested. You are not a thinking man. For you it is very easy. He says Adam and Eve was created, they were tempted. For Judaism, Christianity, Islam, these are all the common stories, all the Semitic religions. He created the world. You won't question why the God should be male, could be a female, like Shakti or anything. You can question, but there is no place for questioning in this because you are just giving a pill. It's like a capsule you are giving. And he has asked you, you have sinned if you go by Christianity, because the God has created the Eve and Adam tasted the fruit of knowledge.
Right.
So why should God create that if at all and tell it? These are all logical questions. These are not for an 8th century or 9th century peasant or anyone for that. Common people need not worry about all those things.
Right.
These kind of worrying happens because either you are going logical scientific method or you are going by the Hindu way of questioning everything. Here it is, you accept it. It's a God's word. No truth. This is what a father will say, no? A Christian priest will say. Accept it. So I accepted it. I don't bother about that because I don't have time for all those things. Why should I care whether there is another universe or other things? Because I am fighting for my survival. I don't have food for me. My landlord is going to come and beat me tomorrow. Isn't it? The king's people are going to drag me. So for me, I need some solace. This is a solace it's giving. You do good, you go to heaven. You do bad, you go to hell. Simple, clear-cut method. This is advantage. You ask, simple, clear, like an advertisement, this thing. You are using fear of hell and temptation of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
You go to heaven. What are the things in heaven? Whatever you are denied here, whatever you don't want here, whatever you are not allowed here is given in heaven. You are given alcohol, you are given women, virgins. How about the female? Are they given men like that? Nobody answers it. Because these are all males religions.
Do you know the word for? Do you know the word for a man who is a virgin? I don't know.
I don't know.
Even I have no idea.
Man need not be because it's a very patriarchal religion. Right. So these are all evolved over centuries. We should not sit on judgment on all those things. But it's very easy. It's like telling to a child, I will give you this chocolate or else beat you.
Mm-hmm.
The chocolate of heaven or beating of hell. It's as simple as that. When this comes...
Also, do let me know whenever you want to take a break and feel free to take a break.
When this comes, it is very difficult to counter this. People will start converting, even if there is no sword or anything. Like, with sword, less people converts. You know that in Goa, one of the cruelest things any religion has done in India, it's not during Islamic invasion, it was the Inquisition of Portuguese.
Oh, okay.
Read about that. Inquisition of Portuguese, what they did in Goa against Hindus, Muslims and even the Christians which they thought were not enough Catholic enough.
Mm-hmm.
Read about Kunengurishu Viplavam, the rebellion of Crooked Cross. Read about it. When Portuguese came to Kerala, they started torturing not the Hindus, not the Muslims. They started torturing the Indian Christians, saying that they are not Christian enough. It's like Taliban going against the Muslims.
Uh-huh.
They are like mad people. We glamorize Vasco da Gama and all. He was a devil in conventional sense.
Mm-hmm.
This purity of when, but in spite of that, less people converted. When do people, Goa even now has only 25-26% of Christianity, in spite of torturing people and doing it. So sword is not an easy method to convert. This kind of simplicity is an easier method to convert actually. To bring to that path, to sell something for anything. No, how it's like marketing only. It's like selling only. Just accept that. Any religion for that. Any religion for that matter. You give a simple slogan, people will buy. Politics you can see, no? You give a complicated, big theory, nobody buys.
Make America great again.
Make America great again, and all the idiots went and voted for a bigger idiot. So these kind of things do happen. So how do you confront it? So what they made, Hinduism, the Bhakti Marga came. They put aside all the Upanishad, the Mayavada, Advaita, blah, 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 every complicated means, and it became the Bhakti, this thing came. You go to the Bhakti has many layers, but on common man's level, what is it? You go to temple, give a coconut, you will pass the exam. It's much more simpler than waiting until your death and getting a heaven, right? So it is super simplicity. This is how the Hinduism reaction came to the simplified solution of Islam and Christianity. What was Hindus? When Buddhism was rampant, it was a very intellectual religion. So all the debates were happening. The moment it confronted with Christianity or Islam, where they were offering this fear and temptation, fear of hell and temptation of heaven, after your death, Hinduism reacted with immediate reward. Go to temple, do something, give free something, you get immediately rewarded. What could be more simpler than that? Bhakti era, the present day Hinduism mostly is that.
What is your evaluation of the Bhakti movement in the sense like...
Bhakti movement helped Hinduism to survive.
Really?
Otherwise, it would have got, take the world map and see.
Okay.
There is a sudden spurt of Islam started from one place and it suddenly expanded. Christianity went to Europe and it suddenly expanded. It's like an explosion after the Romans thing. Take the map and see which two countries resisted it easily. All the animalistic religions were sucked away. All other religions got sucked by either Islam or Christianity. It's a crescent arc, and India is like a wedge in between.
Okay.
It survived. It's not a small thing. China survived until communist religion came.
You consider communism also as a religion?
Communism is a religion with none of the virtues. Communism is a Semitic religion with none of the virtues of Semitic religions.
Okay. That's even worse than,
Yeah, it doesn't have any of the positive qualities. It has all the negative qualities of... it has all the negative qualities of Abrahamic religion.
Without any positives.
Without any positives of it. And ironically, the Indian communism has inherited the bad aspects of Hinduism also, like casteism and all are also rampant in that.
Okay.
So you have got the worst of all. And only thing equivalent I can find is the right-wing Hindu politics of now, which has none of the virtues of Hinduism and all the bad aspects of Abrahamic religions.
Okay.
Because Hinduism's aspects are what? Good aspects are. Hinduism's bad aspect is one thing. A lot of bad aspects are there, like any religion. Hinduism's good aspects is acceptance of everything, tolerance. It's not even tolerance. It's perhaps indifference. I don't care what you do. Tolerance is like I don't like what you do, but it's okay. Tolerance is a wrong word. It's actually indifference. Actually means it's also okay. You go to church. Why should I care? My wife goes to church. My wife doesn't go to church. I'm telling as an example. My wife goes to church. My son goes to mosque. I don't care. It was like that one day. Once upon a time. That is the Hinduism, no? I go to church today. Tomorrow I go to mosque. Day after tomorrow I'm an atheist. It doesn't matter. That is gone. Now you are trying to make one book is the holy book. One Ramayana is the holy Ramayana. One God is Ram. There are 33 crores gods or beyond that. Every village has 10 or 15 gods in India. Every village has their own mythology, their own Puranas, their own holy books. That didn't lose. That is so local. No, what made Hinduism strong is this animalistic village religions, not the Vedas or not the Gita or all this, or all the, for some priests used to know about all these things. Village gods resisted this actually. Village gods kept the faith running.
What do you mean, village gods?
So many, you go to any village, you go to rural area, you drive around, we are from Bangalore, right? You drive around Bangalore, you can find a lot of, now they say it's an aspect of Vishnu, Shiva and all, but you will see under the tree, small idols and other things.
Yeah, I've seen those, yeah.
This is so intimate. I come from a village. These are so intimate gods. This is like your personal God. It's not like God sitting in heaven or God from some era, Yuga, Krishna, Rama or anything. This is something which some village gods become huge, like Shabarimala, Ayyappan and all. No? Then mythology gets associated with that. But essentially, there you go to villages in Karnataka, in Tamil Nadu, in UP, in Bengal, in Kerala, in Himachal, any place in India, rural India. That is where the actual this thing live. There are gods who are very immediate to you, who are now slowly getting Sanskritized. They say that it's avatar of Vishnu, of Devi and other things, but they will have, the villages will have their own name for that god, like Karupaswamy, Karuppan, Kuttichatan in Kerala. A lot of them are there. Gandagarna, a lot of names are there. Every place, Bengal has thousands of gods like that. Assam has. Travel around, you find all those. And it's fascinating if you go by road. Some people will be praying under the tree. That tree is the heart of that village.
Okay.
I feel these things very fascinating about India rather than all the philosophical discussion and other things. So it gives you immediate solace. You don't need a priest for this. You don't need a chanting for this. What do you call this diversification of faith. This is very difficult to conquer. Then the question comes, why animalistic religions of say Africa or American Indians, how they catapulted against the assault of the organized religions like Christianity or Islam, because they had only that. Here, you have many philosophical bases. You have a lot of saints and acharyas and other people propagating at one level. It is so layered, so deep. So on one side you have animalistic practices, that was also accepted. The priesthood in India didn't try to smoother them. Any other practice. They didn't say this is blasphemy, this is you should not do that, you should pray only in this way. You go to Pashupatinath temple or any temples in Nepal or Eastern India, animal sacrifice is a method of praying. Inside the temple, even for Ganesha, they are sacrificing buffaloes, which will shock us.
Really? I thought animal sacrifices were very common. They are not, is it?
Animal sacrifice is common in certain parts of the country. In rural India also it is common. Whereas many of the temples, they won't even allow anybody to eat non-veg before visiting that. That day you should not eat non-veg. So this is a range of belief. Some temples, liquor is given as
I've seen
liquor is given as the prasada. Like Shvetakala Bhairava in Kerala also a lot of temples are there. Many of the Thayyams consume liquor. But one of the festivals, fascinating festival which I saw was in Kathmandu, there is a Shvetakala Bhairava Murti.
Kathmandu is in Nepal, no?
Nepal.
Okay.
Nepal was a official religious Hindu country until recently. Imagine that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Now it's a secular country. After the Prajanta and these people have come. I think 15-16 years ago it became secular. After the king's massacre. Kings were massacred there.
Okay.
But Shvetakala Bhairava, if you go, it's a big pot.
Okay.
The murti,
in that temple,
the idol is a big pot in which the Shiva's face is there. They pour rice liquor into it during the festival. And it comes through the mouth of the idol and everyone drinks it. The person who drinks maximum, he has got the maximum blessing. This is also a aspect of religion. So it's so fascinating about this fascination of acceptance of every kind of thing instead of unification. Unified things, what happens? It's easy. You hit that unified thing, you're dead. This is like it keeps on sprouting. One tree is there, it's easy to cut that tree. How do you cut the grass? It keeps on sprouting. You cut it, again it comes out. Again it comes out. So this is what made it resilient.
What has your, I think throughout this conversation you've been mentioning about, your travels. You've made a lot of travels, I feel. Is there some assumptions that you had before, maybe about India, maybe about religion in general, or maybe your own path to self-discovery?
What happens? No, see, I grew up in a very conservative family, religious family. It opened my horizons. It made me understand that many things which my parents said need not be right. Not that they are wrong per se or they had any wrong intention. Their experience was limited to their cultural background. You travel a lot. What you get is your perspective changes. It's so fascinating that there are so many truths and so many way of life, and there is nothing like you talk to people. Just traveling like a vlogger won't do. I don't take my cameras mostly. I try to capture it in my mind because I'm not trying to sell this or nothing wrong in that. But that's not my profession. I write. So I keep talking to strangers, wrong people. Sometimes I go by train, sometimes I go by bus, sometimes I go by car, whatever way possible. Not lot of travel, but my travels.
How often is it? In a year?
In a year, twice or thrice.
Oh, not so much.
Not so much
so
because
much.
I have to sit and write. I'm a very lazy person. But when I do that, 10 days, 15 days when I travel, I make use of the most of it. I keep away my mobile phone, I keep away my mobile camera.
So how do you decide where to go? You'll have a book idea in mind and then you just explore
Random.
it? Random, is it?
Then what I do, other than that, I go for a lot of lit fest. I stay back for 1 or 2 days and go alone to some places. Literature festival, people keep calling. Bhubaneswar, Guwahati or Chandigarh or a lot of places, Lucknow.
Yeah, I've seen some of your videos on...
so there when I go, 2-3 days I stay back on my own somewhere. I just go somewhere.
And you mentioned...
So that way I'll be traveling more than 1 or 2 months in a year. That way if you take. But specifically for travel once in a year or once in 6 months, 10 days, 15 days. Otherwise I combine this... I go to Lucknow, I go to all the historic places there. So I don't try to cover everything.
Will you have, when you go there, will you have an idea of who to talk to or you just...
Random.
Random, is it?
Especially talk to common people, the vendors there, some sannyasi sitting there. I got fascinating stories from all this.
Then you just ask them, what do you do, what's up and all
for
that.
10 people, somebody will not know anything. You will find someone talking. Maybe he is telling a lie, but that's also, I am a storyteller. No, I am not a researcher. For me, even a made up story is good enough for me. I don't care. So I got many of my stories like that. Like Ajaya and all were written because I talked to people and they gave me a perspective, and from there I wrote Ajaya.
Understood. What do you make of this? What do you make of this concept of hell and heaven? How do you think about that?
I told you, hell and heaven is a concept which is like fear and temptation. It's a method in which... fascinating history. Hinduism, Garuda Purana came, they say, in 12th century, 13th century, scholars say. Garuda Purana is like the purgatory of Christianity or hell of Islam into 100. It is such a... If you are... as a child, it terrified me. As an adult, it's a hilarious book. It talks about different kind of punishment. It's so graphic. So what... Indians have this habit of exaggerating everything. So when they confronted this concept of hell, even Buddhism had a concept of hell.
But can you define, actually, so even I'm a non-believer and hell used to terrify me when I was young actually. And I'll tell you what I mean.
That was the purpose of, the priests created the hell for terrifying.
Right. And pretty effectively, I would say.
For a kid, so they, what happens, when you, the problem with congregational religions or Semitic religions is they infantilize you. They don't allow you to think. So there has to be a violent separation like what happened in Renaissance of Europe. There has to be a violent separation when it happens. Like they have to reject everything. So you find the atheism in Europe violently rejects it. Violently in the sense they are vociferously rejecting everything, ridiculing everything. Why the modern Indian atheists look so ridiculous is that they tried to use the same method against Hinduism to ridicule it. The problem is Hinduism doesn't have any fundamentals. So what do you ridicule? You tell them all the hell is so ridiculous. Who saw it? A traditional average Hindu will say, yeah, maybe it is wrong. It's
so
as simple as that, no? Then how do you confront this? It's a slimy beast if you really see. There is nothing to confront. Now it is easy to confront because they are trying to unify it. So now somebody wants to take it on, they have to take one figure. Otherwise, traditionally criticizing Rama, accepted. Criticizing Shiva, accepted. Sometimes encouraged also. One part of Buddhism was to criticize Buddha. That was a course for them in the monasteries. The monks used to sit and criticize Buddha to have clarity, what all things he did wrong.
Oh, okay.
Not the Tibetan and all, that's like a devotional Buddhism. But in Indian Buddhism, this was a part of an exercise where you will sit and try to cut down every tenets of Buddha and see whether it is right or wrong. And you change if the times have changed.
Also, I'm trying to understand. One reason why it used to terrify me is because it was mostly that in hell there's a lot to. We would burn in hell. And I think that was like the major picture of when I used to think about hell. It's like me burning in hell, and I don't know.
Because this came from a desert, no? So heat is the most fearful.
Oh, understood.
thing.
But so is burning in hell similar in Hinduism as well, or did you guys
Hinduism
have-
went another way, no? We make a lot of vadas and all, no? So Hinduism is like Garuda Purana. Some of the thing is that you are fried.
You're
in
fried,
oil,
is it?
fried in oil. No, we are because see, when you grow up now, when you think it's so fascinating. Oil, not the petroleum. Before petroleum was discovered, oil was a tough commodity to get.
cooking oil? You mean? Is it?
Cooking oil. It's a tough. Not in India. We have so many cooking oil sources. Have you ever thought about that?
Actually, not.
So many oils come from coconut, from
Sunflower.
Sunflower is recent. Sunflower is very artificially made. Traditionally, I'm telling, like mustard, gingerly oil, til ka tel, no? Gingerly oil. So many oil seeds are there in India. So frying was easier for. They used to use fat. They had to slaughter animals like pig or other things, and they had to use that fat even for burning candles. We never had candles because we had a lot of candles. How did they come earlier? It's animal fat they used to burn before paraffin was invented. Traditionally
really?
in Europe and other parts. Because animal you had to slaughter. Because why animals? Why there is when you think why more non-veg food in cold countries? Because that is the only way to store. Non-vegetarian is a way to store food, right? In a non-tropical country. Why more vegetarianism was prevalent in India in spite of having a lot of animals and birds is because here year round you can create food and year round food can be stored. We can create more grains. Say in a cold country before the invention of air conditioning and other things, why they needed pepper and all. Meat is a method of storing energy. When some grains are excess, you feed to the cow or a pig. It is storing your food as fat in it. Then you get everything from that. No, for candle also use this fat. That's why the candle, paraffin, because oil will become solid for them. Even coconut oil in winters becomes solid, right, in Bangalore and all. So oil in hot countries like us, oil was easier to make. So our food habits have a lot of frying on vegetable based oil. Many countries when it comes from desert or when it goes to cold places, you cannot survive without non-vegetarian food. Now refrigeration is there, you can even refrigerate vegetables. But at that time, that's the only way to survive. You are storing it in a cow or a chicken or a pig, your food. Because when it is snow covered, from where do you get the food? So, and when there is plenty, there only vegetarianism will come. Why veganism is picking up in the West now? Because it has reached a stage of plenty. Now, veganism is a trend among the upper echelons of the society and in the West. A lot of people are becoming vegan. I am a vegan. A lot of people are vegan. I'm not a strict vegan because I'm not strict for anything, but mostly I'm a vegan. Sometimes, once in a while, I may take a milk or something, not more than that.
What convinced you to be a vegan?
Frankly, this may offend many people, but frankly, I feel veganism is about creating least pain to anything else. I cannot avoid pain because constantly there is violence without knowing or unknowing. So, perfect non-violence is impossible because your body itself is fighting a lot of living organisms to survive, right? Scientifically.
Right.
So many microorganisms are attacking you, from fungi to bacteria to viruses, and
Even when you brush, I think you kill so many.
you are killing so many things, right? So many unknown, which was not known to the people of at that time. Even though Jainism talks about the Sukshmanu and other things, this much they may not have been knowing. In spite of that, we will be killing a lot of things. When you are walking, you are killing. When you are breathing, your body is killing a lot of things. So you cannot avoid all those things. Other than that, as much as possible, if you can avoid, one can argue plants have life, plants are sentient or non-sentient. So all these are arguments. I know maybe plants also have life. Plants have life, of course. Maybe plants also know pain. But what is the basic dharma? It is to survive. The fundamental dharma of life is to live.
Mm-hmm.
For any that is what is fundamental. It is common to all living beings. The rest all are the elevated dharmas. The basic dharma, the basic duty of a living thing is to live.
Mm-hmm.
For that you need to eat food. You need to eat food minimum, breathe, drink water. In that minimum damage, what you can cause is veganism.
Understood.
Minimum pain and other things. Zero pain, impossible. Zero violence, impossible. Because even when you cut plant, it is impossible. Okay, there is one thing more non-violent than, I don't have the mental power to do that, more non-violent, which was used by many of the rishis and people, certain sects of people in Hinduism. Have only food which is discarded by the plants, which the plant intends as food for things.
What kind of food is that? I have no idea.
All fruits.
All fruits, sir?
Fruits, why does a plant or a tree make a fruit? For the propagation of the seed. Indian plants I am telling mainly, because it evolved in India. So mango, ripe mango, they won't eat unripe mango. They will eat ripe mango which has fallen down. Zero violence. Fallen down mango which has not been eaten which has been left over by any birds or animals.
Oh my God, really?
But India you get, like as a child in front of my home there was a huge mango tree where thousands of mangoes used to fall every time a breeze comes. The entire mango tree was full of mango. So India is not difficult, like coconut. Mm-hmm. So many coconuts you get.
And there were people who used to do this, sir?
There are cults, there are many rishis and sannyasis who used to live like that to create zero violence. They will eat only this. So this fruit, but this is possible only in India. You do it in Europe, you will die in 2 days because you get apple only during that time. No, in a tropical country only. So all these things, when you judge people, you have to see from where it comes. Mm. Why some religion is violent, your religion is violent, mine is not, because your religion or your culture evolved in your place, in your geography, not because you are a great person or anything. This is a place where there is a land of plenty. So you get from jackfruit, you bury the seed so that new jackfruit tree will come. You eat the fruit because the plant has intended you to have it. This is the ultimate of veganism, if you really see. So they used to wear clothes made of discarded leaves. So they are not. You have seen many of the rishis and all, they are using the leaf bark, birch bark as
to cover themselves.
Cover. This is only possible in India, especially South India. Mm-hmm. Or unless you are a yogi, big yogi, otherwise in the cold of the north you won't survive with that. So many of these philosophies will happen in the coastal and all these parts. From Bengal to Gujarat, the coast of it, many of the places would have evolved where there heat is not there. Not even Bangalore perhaps possible because of the cold.
A lot of the things that you're saying are so obvious, but I feel like I'm thinking this for the first time. Like it's just.
It's just
like how you mentioned this, how it's mostly prevalent in South India because obviously it's so cold in North India that it may not be, even if they want to, like sometimes it
becomes difficult.
Very, very difficult, yeah.
So in South, even from Bombay, you can walk with one loin cloth, right? Mm-hmm. Throughout the year. It's not so hot like a desert. There's no dust storms or anything. It's not so cold. So it's like you are living in a heaven. You have made a mess out of it is another thing. That's your foolishness. Nature has given us a paradise in the tropical India. Water is available. For everything for life is available. Mm-hmm. Isn't it? We made a mess of it. We create garbage piles and we made a mess of it. It's our mistake. But from Bombay onwards, from Gujarat to Bombay onwards to down south up to Kanyakumari, Sri Lanka to Orissa to Bengal, the entire belt, even other parts also, you are blessed by nature because you have rains throughout. You have plenty of water. You have plenty of fruit giving trees. How many are there? In my Kerala, in my yard, if I just come out, everything, you need not go to the shop, everything grows by itself. So tropical, no?
Mm-hmm.
You have mango, you have jackfruit, you have gooseberry, you have waterberries, you name it, you have it. You have tamarind, everything even now when I go there, no, you just pluck things and make. So there are rishis, siddhas and all who used to live only on that. So that is zero violence. One level above veganism actually. But is it possible in today's life to do that? It's maybe you have enough money. Money is important for all those things. In today's world. Why? Because I want to eat only fruit throughout the year. I need plenty of money because now is vegan really non-violent now? If you really think it is not non-violent enough, because you are transporting kiwi and avocado from some other places using all the fossil fuels and bringing it here. So actually you are doing more violence than somebody eating a chicken. Somebody eating a homegrown chicken is doing less violence than a vegan who is eating an avocado sitting in Bombay or Bangalore.
So this element
so
of...
everything is layered.
But this element of not harming anyone or not causing anyone suffering...
It's the intention. Every time
it's
it's not possible. Every time it's not possible at all. So isn't it better than not doing it at all? If 365 days, if I can, 200 days I can live without harming anyone. Isn't it better than harming someone or other all 365 days? If one day I can do that, isn't it better than not doing it at all? That's all. It's all relative. And only thing what you have to be careful about this is, it's a human nature. We tend to act superior and vain because I am not harming anyone. And vegetarianism is something like a great thing. It's nothing. It's a way of life.
I do feel there is some amount of elitism in veganism. I've met a few people who, I do feel that...
That is something which you have to guard against.
Right.
Because, see, one of the tenets of Jainism, when they say, be non-violent, but even criticizing violence is violence.
Criticizing violence is violence, huh?
Because, see, I am a vegan, but if I judge you because you eat a chicken, it's as good that I also eat that chicken.
I'm not too sure, but okay. But I think I get the sentiment of the point, yeah.
Because I don't know your reason for, there is a medical reason for you eating. Who am I to judge it? You like it, you do it, right? I wish you don't do it, but I have nobody to stop it using violence or tell you also. You have to realize yourself. You will have to realize yourself, you have to arrive at that truth that my taste is not more important than the life of another being. The pain of creating pain to another being, is it, can you avoid it? Is my taste for 2 seconds, 2 seconds of it more important than the life of a chicken or a fish? If you feel your taste is more important, you should have it. No judgment. But until you realize that, you will be keeping on having it. Whether it is healthy, not healthy, I am not going into there at all. I am a vegan even knowing that perhaps I may lack many nutrients and nobody to argue against that. Maybe I lack a lot of nutrients or maybe I am better off than other people. I don't know about that. My sole intention is that to cause less harm as much as possible without being judgmental. I don't want anyone, I don't even tell my children or my wife or anyone, I have nobody to command that you be vegan. My daughter has turned now. Tomorrow if she wants to have something, she will have it. She wants to have any food. There is no religious reason for it. She wants to have beef, she will have it. Tomorrow I feel like having it, I will have it. But so far I never felt the need of it. So far I feel that my taste is not important as the pain of other being. So as long as I hold on to that, I will remain vegan.
I wish you all the best in that. Because I think it's I really think it's a very difficult. I mean, I've tried to be a vegetarian now and then, and I've found it very, very difficult. I mean, uh, especially when my friends are eating chicken tandoori, and it really, I don't want to tempt you, but anyways.
And I don't get tempted on those things.
What do you think is the future?
But again, as I said, no, this is, as you rightly pointed out, only in a place where there is a choice of food. So tomorrow, imagine there is a famine comes and only non-veg is available. I should be an idiot not to eat it. True. And die. Because my first priority is to survive. In Islam, this comes beautifully actually. Islam, there are like Islam and Judaism both. Kosher food or halal food is there. They are permitted to eat anything if there is nothing else is available.
Okay. Oh, they make that exception, is it?
They have exceptions. Okay. They can eat anything, including
pork, is it?
Pork, in a case where they have to save their lives. It's a very practical way of looking at it.
The author was very pragmatic, I think.
Because otherwise it is like madness, no? Like your first thing is to... So the violence, self-defense also comes in that. No, I am a non-violent person, but if somebody is going to harm me or... so the question comes, if a snake comes here, if possible, I will to try to... snakes have come into my yard, we have let it go. Just open the window and it will go out. 99% none of the animals do it. But whether practically have you not killed anyone? I would have killed 100,000 mosquitoes. Isn't it?
Right.
So what is the point in being vain that I am so kind, I am leaving the snake? Even your kindness has something to related to your sense of aesthetics.
Kindness, is it? How do you say that?
Your compassion also depends on what is beautiful and not beautiful. You will easily crush a worm.
Right.
Will you crush a butterfly?
Right. I have not thought about this. Right.
I didn't say it. I think some which writer I forgot. He told it and it got me thinking.
Right. No, that is actually... You want to squash the worm or or cockroach, let's say.
No, you will squash a caterpillar. In 2 hours, it may become a butterfly. You won't squash it after that.
Right.
Same creature, same species. It's not harming you.
I was also thinking about how we show kindness to people as well. I think good-looking people, you tend to be more maybe of the I'm attracted to the opposite sex, so maybe more good-looking girls, I'll be maybe more kinder, and if somebody's not that good-looking, maybe a little ruder. But I mean, that's a flaw from my end. I think your torchlight is on.
So that is what you call many things. When you think, it is so fascinating that even things which we think of kindness or compassion has a lot of relationship with beauty, sense of beauty, and all those things.
What do you make of beauty? Like, do you pay a lot of attention to beauty, maybe in your writing, in life, and
definitely, understanding and appreciating beauty is a part of any artistic venture. So you always have perhaps a heightened sense of beauty. Maybe you may not agree with what I find beautiful, but without that sense, you can't be any artist, let alone a writer. And aesthetics is very important for culture and civilization. What we lack now, what we had in plenty. You are in Karnataka, right? Just go to Belur, Halibut or Hampi and see how much beauty they have created. And just walk around Bangalore and see, can you show me one pavement in Bangalore or Bombay or any Indian city which is in a straight line? Can you show me something which is created with any aesthetics of beauty?
Very difficult, is it?
Try it, observe it, no? See the pavements in your city, in modern Indian cities. See the sidewalks, pavements, or footpath, whatever you call, or the median. It will be like this. It will be tilted to one side, that side. That electric post will be tilted to one side or other. Some wires will be dangling. And now go to a temple or Taj Mahal or any places. No, so 200 years back, I think people had more sense of beauty, or looked at more. Go to any ancestral house and see how beautifully they are carved. Anyone's house, even the handle, and see what we are getting now. No? Just one stick.
Right.
So we are slowly losing the sense of beauty. The cities what we create, the towns what we create, they don't have the... they may look very posh. There is no sense to attention to detail. You go and see any sculpture or any temple or anything what created say 200 years back. They put so much love and passion to it that each of the thing is carved with so much precision even when they didn't have any equipments like what we have now.
And I think it's very difficult to do that as well, no? I think.
Actually, now it is very easy to do. No?
Yeah.
You use a laser cut and you use so much technology
Yeah.
available. We
Back
don't
then-
want to do it. Back then it's so difficult
very
and they did it.
difficult.
Here we can easily do. What prevents you to put a proper, except the corruption, what prevents you from putting a proper payment? What puts you to prevents you from putting a proper garden on the cities, plant proper trees? Ashoka was doing at that time, Chola was doing at that time, Vijayanagara Samrajya, they were doing it at that time. Akbar was doing, everyone was doing, Britishers were also doing. Here and there it is coming in some IT park here and there, so few people are doing it. But it's like islands of, small islands in a sea of mess.
Right. So I think early on we mentioned, I think, we spoke about gods of having, of wind and of earth and all these. I'm trying to understand, what is the future of religion and what is the future of gods, and as science progresses and we have there are people who are building what is called artificial general intelligence as well. What role do you think religion, no doubt, whether good or bad, has played a huge role in the past? Where do you think this goes, and how do you think this kind of ends, if there is an end?
I don't think, religions may change. A lot of religions have come and gone in the human history. 2000 years or 1500 years is a very small period. What was the religion of Egyptians? What was the religion of Indus Valley people? We don't know. Proto-Hinduism, they say we are not sure. What was the religion of so many Mesopotamians and all? Where have all those gone? What happened to Nordic mythology? So many religions, the gods were like Neil Gaiman talks about, some of his books are fascinating about the old gods, like American gods and other things. When the old gods visit the new country, once upon a time they were also important. Then they die away. But new religions take the place of those religions. Like Christianity replaced many religions. Islam replaced many pre-Islamic Arabian religions. So many of them. So like that, everything has a... When Buddha was asked this question, he said Buddhism will last for 1,000 years. It's still going on, but somewhat after 1,000 years, almost for 2,000 years it lasted in India at least. Before again Hinduism came back as a major religion, right? Hinduism or Buddhism went away. The rest of the religions, rest of the other darshanas flourished in Indian case. Religion will always be there. Maybe when artificial intelligence comes, new kind of gods will come. Perhaps if they don't become too rigid, Hinduism may absorb that also, going by the nature of it. Imagine
like a
how
different
many
avatar or something like that.
how many gods have come and gone, lost their prominence, and how many have gained their prominence in Hinduism. If you see, the Vedic gods are nowhere to be seen now. Brahma was once a big god. Entire this thing was for Brahma. Later, a derivative of it, Brahman, or the supreme god, supreme consciousness, etc. They use it for many of the philosophical moving. But how many people pray to Brahma? They have a story for it why they don't pray and all those things. So these are all part of religious evolution. Brahma went out of fashion, Indra went out of fashion. How many people... Buddhism has more importance for Indra than Hinduism now.
Okay.
How many people pray to Indra or Varuna? As a minor god you do. But otherwise, they are not the major, most popular gods. New cults, new things came in between. New gods came in between. You won't perfectly say they are gods, but almost all the aspects of gods are there. Like Ayyappa, for example, which is a huge... the Lord Ayyappa has a huge following in the South India. Almost 5-10 crore people visit, and is the most popular god perhaps in South among... cutting across perhaps religion and community, whereas he is virtually unknown beyond the 4 South Indian states. Sai Baba became God, started as a saint and now he is like God only, Shirdi temple Not Satya Sai Baba. I mean, even Satya Sai Baba recently he's slowly becoming a god.
There are so many gods, like yeah.
They're evolving, right? They're more newer and newer. People get elevated as gods.
And every god also seems like you mentioned has its own time, and then for some other times there another god might be popular.
Another god like the cult of Ram and Krishna slowly replaced the Vedic gods.
Mm-hmm.
The Shakti thing came. Then it also not just replaced. Sometimes it gets they absorb also. Like many village gods became the avatar of Ram or Devi or Bhagavati or Krishna. The mythology gets superimposed. So, either way it works. One way it gets Brahminized. Many of the customs and rituals.
No. It's completely fine.
Rituals and in other way these get absorbed into the grand umbrella of Hinduism.
Mm-hmm.
So many. If there was before the advent of Europeans, it's fascinating to see how Christianity was evolving in Kerala.
Why is that?
Had not the Europeans come with their brand of Christianity, the Christianity in India would have been another.
Like a different stream, huh?
No, it would have been another religion, another god among Hindus.
Okay.
It was evolving like that
Mm-hmm.
because you see the early Christians of Kerala, there is no difference between the way churches were constructed. They look like temples. Even most look like temples because that was only building technology available at that time, right? So they were looking more like temples. They have this Deebam, that is, they have the oil lamps inside all old Kerala church festivals. There is absolutely no difference between the temple festival or the most festivals.
Mm-hmm.
Why specifically I am telling to Kerala? One, I am familiar with it. Two, that place was more secured from the rest of the country and more connected to other cultures of the world because of the Western Ghats and the sea. And it was more or less insular from the invasions and other things being in the deep south. So it was like an experimental place, where the ancient Hinduism coexisted and also interacted with various non-violent versions of Islam or Christianity. It was through the trade they came.
Mm-hmm.
Religions can spread through trade, religions can spread through inversions and sword and other things. All religions have done like that. Christianity or Islam came to the southern parts of the country through trade. So the way they interacted with religion and all these religions got influenced with each other is totally different from how it happened in the Gangetic Plains or how it happened during the colonization times. So Kerala was an experiment, earlier Kerala I am telling, where the negative point was the rigid caste system of Kerala. It was a madhouse.
Mm-hmm.
The positive aspect was the coexistence of so many religions and beliefs and other things without any violent history among them. There is no recorded or unrecorded conflicts between religion until perhaps the late 1870s, where the Britishers started creating trouble and there were Hindu-Muslim issues in certain districts, which culminated in the 1921 huge riots and massacre.
In Kerala, is it?
In Kerala, the 1921 riots.
Uh-huh.
Where it was part agricultural riot, part religious riot, part inspired by Khilafat movement, and lot of massacre of in the first phase Hindus happened, and the second phase when the Britishers came with the Gurkha army, they were very brutal in suppressing it, and in both the cases innocents died. That is what happens in riots.
Right.
Of either community, the innocents died. All the leaders ran away after creating trouble as usual, and the innocents got punished on either side. So a lot of innocents died in that riot. Perhaps that is the only riot recorded in the Kerala history which was a result of the Khilafat movement gone wrong.
Okay.
So events in Turkey influenced and confluenced with the problems of the local agrarian society. So it was, as I said, it was a part agrarian revolt, part anti-caste revolt, but finally it evolved as an anti-Hindu revolt, anti-religious revolt. Many people now try to paint it as freedom struggle, but there is not even a single Britisher who was killed.
Uh-huh.
So how could it be a...
I think a lot of these wars, I think even the I don't remember whether it's the 1757 or 1857. I think initially it was called Sepoy Mutiny and now it's called, I think, First War
It
of
depends on
Independence.
who writes the history. No?
Right.
It is like talking about nobody used the word Hindu. Even the 1857 war, every king fought for their own fiefdom. No, nobody was fighting for India.
India
as
per
such.
se, yeah.
India per se. Everybody, and some of the heroes of the thing, they all entered late. They were looking who it is, and they entered late. After everything didn't start together. After 7 months, 8 months, 1 year, etc., people have started. Had everybody fought together and as a revolution, the history would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
So many of these things, like definitions, what we give now, need not be the actual truth of what happened. So when Britishers were ruling, they called it Sepoy Mutiny because for them it was easier to put down as just as a rebellion. When we got freedom, we changed it to the freedom struggle. It was both. Sepoy started the mutiny, it evolved into freedom struggle of respective princely states, not as a whole.
Right. So from now, I want you to pardon me a little bit because we'll be jumping around a little more than, I think till now we've had a common thread of religion per se, but I think now we'll jump around a little bit. So yeah. I think I've heard you say multiple times in Indian context per se that time is God. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by that?
See, here every dharma or every code is subject to time. It depends on time, period you are living, that what is right and what is wrong is linked to.
Mm-hmm.
Time is cyclical in nature in Indian thought. It is not, there is no concept of finite time, it's infinite time. If you see the Abrahamic religion, there is a beginning and an end. God created the world ends, judgment day comes, and that's it.
Right.
After that, what? We don't know. You are eternal, you live eternally. In Indian context, even the Brahma dies. There is no mortal.
Mm-hmm.
There is no immortal. When God is, the God or the God form is are mortals.
Uh-huh.
Only the time period, a Brahma may take billions of years to die.
But even he's not spared from death.
Time is ultimate God.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps on, the cycle keeps on coming and going. So that is why, and how did they do? So that's why I said there was originally no concept of hell until it got interacted and the priest found that it's a good way to make a living. That the Garuda Purana was also written imitating many of the Abrahamic religious concepts. Original concepts, when you see, it works on karma and karma vala. You do every day, every moment, you have got a lot of choices. You make decisions based on that, thinking what is right or wrong. Every choice will have a consequence, and you will eat the fruit of that consequence, good or bad. And it's eternally. So sometimes you do good things, but you die before earning the reward of it. It's not perfectly scientific or proven or unproven. Okay, this is a concept. Again, you are born again. All your elements, whatever you are made of elements, all the elements return back to earth, and nothing gets destroyed. You are born again, perhaps as a plant, perhaps as a, you don't know how the nature changes it. No? Perhaps as a plant, perhaps as a worm, perhaps as a human being itself. But you carry the good and bad karma with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you pay, that's what they call prarabdha, what comes from your previous lives, not one life, cycle of lives. So that is why some people are, this is all how you explain life, no? So this is one way they are trying to explain. Why some people are born in a rich family, why some people are born lucky, why some people are gone in poor family. One way of looking at it is the Abrahamic way. God willed it that you are born in a rich family or poor family, God is testing you. So the question will come, why is God so partial if everybody is his children? Why is so the priests don't have answer? They say God is inscrutable, his will you cannot question. So don't question it. This is what the Semitic religion gives the answer. India, that answer was not accepted at that time. Everything has to be questioned. But they need a solution. Human mind needs a solution. What is the solution they came up with? They came up with this solution. So Buddhism, Hinduism and all Jainism and all talks about, of course there are contrary views also, but main religion talks about you are born not for the first time. This is your n billionth birth. Could have been a virus earlier or a bacteria earlier or a dinosaur
Cat,
earlier,
dog, whatever.
right? Cat, dog, whatever it is. As humans, you would have conducted cat, dogs, and all. It doesn't matter. Humans, you would have. There are a lot of logical flaws you can find in this also. It's not perfect, but somewhat it makes some logical sense if you go by this logic, in the sense that it's not the God who is deciding. There is no concept of that judgmental God. That is why the English word God, is not equivalent to Bhagavan or Ishwar of any Indian language. There is no equivalent word of God in Indian languages, or there is no equivalent word of Bhagavan or Ishwar or Parameshwar or Parabrahma in English. These are all lost in translation because many of the language is closely linked to the culture in which it evolves. So since there is no judgmental God, it is your own action. You are responsible for what is happening to you. So why are you born in a, say, a rich family? Why are you born as Ambani's son or Adani's son? Just for an example. You are not, but I tell you. Because they say you had done a lot of good things in your life in the previous some births, for which you are getting the reward. Who decides it? The time decides it. So time is God. Time is the judgmental thing. Then say this person, this very billionaire's son meets an accident. Why did it happen? Because they give a reason that in one of your lives you had done the same thing. So it's a way of looking at things. That's all.
So it's not like my mind directly went to this multiverse context, but not in multiverse per se. But this is multiverse is all lives happening in parallel, but this is not happening in parallel. But this is
multiverse concept is also there in this. I'm telling in a simplified way. You need not be born on the earth itself. You could have been born in somewhere else.
Okay.
Your life is not restricted to
Planet Earth.
Planet Earth, your life is not restricted to this cycle of time. So they talk about yugas, different cycle of times, and it is different yugas in different earths parallelly happening. And they also talk about in Ramayana itself the concept comes parallelly you are living at various worlds.
The same me, is it?
So Kakabusundi again I talked to in the Yoga Vasishtha, before Yoga Vasishtha introduction of it, he talks about this like some places Ramayana is already over. Some places Ramayana is about to begin. Some places it is happening. And it is giving different results at different places depending on the context and time, because every universe has its own history and its own prarabdha, its own chain of karma and karma bala. So it's like quantum physics. No? It's very tough. I'm not saying it's quantum physics. I'm saying it's like quantum physics. It's very tough to wrap your head around. It's not as simple as I created you, you do good, I send you to heaven, I send you to hell. No, this is like, since the freedom of thought was given, this is like people have imagined to the maximum. So some places they have reached ridiculous conclusions. Some places they have reached conclusions which are beyond the comprehension of our present day knowledge. Because these are not actually proven in lab or anything. This is like the flight of human intelligence and imagination. So it's a conceptual thing. So imagine a civilization thinking like this, that we are not unique. And contrast it with the Abrahamic concept or even communist concept. No, like it is like the world is for our enjoyment.
Right.
We are unique. God has given the world to enjoy.
The man is like the center of the...
Man is the center of the earth, and that's why Galileo was punished. No, that earth is revolving, sun is revolving around the earth.
Right.
It's an anthrocentric religion. Whereas in Hinduism or the Eastern religions, man is just one cog in the huge wheel of it. Without man also universe can exist. Without humanity also universe can exist. So, and they have gone beyond that also. In some of the Upanishads, it comes like we don't exist.
Humans are not there.
We are not existing now. It is just like a dream. This is what he used, James Cameron used in the, not James Cameron, in this Inception they used it. We are living in simulation. Actually, it has roots in our, I'm not saying they copied it, because human minds, mind thinking tends to converge. So you not say they copied this. Perhaps they have, perhaps they are not. It doesn't matter. At least we should be thankful that these kind of concepts are brought back again to the mainstream to make the people think. So we are all living in Brahma's dream. It's a big concept which comes. And just wrap around this. What I'm going to say. Brahma is dreaming. We are all living in that.
Okay.
We are all a part of that dream. But there is another Brahma who is dreaming about this Brahma, who is dreaming about us. There is another Brahma who is dreaming about the Brahma who is dreaming about our Brahma ad infinitum. It goes on and goes on and on and on. There are a chain of people dreaming about somebody, some people dreaming.
So I'm kind of living in Brahma's simulation or dream.
It's not that simple.
Okay.
I'll put it more simply. Let me try how to explain. It's so difficult to... it's fascinating also. Like, there is one Brahma who lives for billions of years. But actually, does he exist? What if that Brahma himself is imagined by someone else?
Okay.
He is dreaming about a Brahma who is dreaming this world. This is not real. We are all living in the dream of a person's brain. Somebody is sleeping and they are dreaming about all of us. So all these things are happening. This is one of the concepts. So that's why it did not make sense. Life did not make sense because it's a dream. Always dreams did not make a sense. When this concept was put forward, another Rishi in the debate asked, what if the Brahma who is dreaming about it, he also doesn't exist.
Somebody else is dreaming.
Somebody else is dreaming about a Brahma who is dreaming about us. Then the next question comes, what if somebody else is dreaming about a Brahma who is dreaming about a Brahma who is dreaming about us? Like that, infinity you can extend.
Right.
Then what happens? You are a simulation inside a simulation inside a simulation inside a simulation inside a simulation. And then they arrived that we are not real. It's crazy actually if you really think. So what is pain? It's like in dream sometimes you die. Do you actually die?
No.
So they talk about sushupti, they talk about sleep. We are all in the dream. And when you awaken yourself, then you find that whatever we have been worrying about, it's like we worrying about in the dream. No? When you are sleeping and you dream that a bus is hitting you and you are feeling all the pain, you are actually feeling all those pain. But when you wake up, you find that this was also the dream, everything has vanished. Was it real? At that time it was real. Did you feel the pain at that time? Yes, you feel the pain. You might have woken up seeing that you are falling down a cliff sometimes or a elephant is chasing. 100 things happen. It is real. You feel the fear, you feel the pain, you cry. But when you wake up, you understand that this was just a dream and it is not important. Now, what if the life is like that?
Do you generally think though that we are living in a simulation?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure, is it?
Because I am still in the dream. So when you are, it's like asking a person inside the dream, does he realize that he is inside the dream? Unless he comes out of it, he will never realize that he is inside the dream.
So you think part of... So you're not entirely sure that all of this is like real. I mean, by real I mean we're not in a simulation per se.
I am not sure whether we are in a simulation. I am not sure whether we are in real also. No, logically think about it. Just wrap the mind around this. Suppose both of us are in a dream.
Okay.
Both of us are characters in a dream. Okay. We are speaking.
We are okay.
Now, are we aware as characters that we are characters inside the dream?
No.
What if life is that? What if actually somebody is dreaming about us?
Right.
And we are not aware that there is a person dreaming about us. Is the character in your own dream aware that he is not real and he or she is just an imagination?
I think one more way where I've heard this argument is the games argument, where the graphics of games get so good that one day will be very difficult to distinguish reality from games. And what if we are people who
same.
are
This is the argument they were asking
right.
About dream. This is the same argument.
Right.
It's almost similar argument.
It's a very similar argument, yeah.
So they talk about awakening. All the Yoga Sutras and others talk about awakening. Why the word awakening? From Sushupti, from the sleep, from the dream, enlightenment is waking up and understanding that this was just a dream. Then the question comes, Shankaracharya talks about that, no? That it's all Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. It's something. One way it is a ridiculous argument. How can you say, for a common man when you talk about it, if I fall down and hurt my knee and you come and say this is all illusion, I go mad. No, it's
right.
all stupid.
Right.
I lose my loved ones and you come and say that this is all illusion. Why are you worried about it?
Right.
It's stupid. It doesn't offer any solace. It's the stupidest argument at that point.
Right. No, I mean, not only at that point, but I feel I don't know. I feel if I'm feeling something, for me it really doesn't matter if I'm dreaming or if I'm not, because I mean if I'm feeling that feeling
it depends on where you are standing at this. So that's why I told, in a dream you fall down, you feel the pain.
Right.
But actually have you felt the pain? So this is the meaning of it. It is mithya. When you wake up, you understand that it was just a dream and the pain I felt was illusion. It was just a dream. Now what they are asking is, what if the other real life pains we are getting is because we are in the dream and we are not woken up. So you wake up and see the world. Is what they are trying to take you. Whether actually you will see that, whether you will actually wake up, it's a question of debate. So they say this cannot be taught through books. This cannot be taught by any acharya or anything. It's like the acharyas or the teachers are like milestone. They need not come with you. They will just show the path. And you cannot carry your acharya there. You don't carry your milestone with you and go anywhere. No, you just see the direction, or GPS. It just shows the direction. What you see in the GPS is not real. It's just a direction. So same way, you have to reach there and then only you know. Now the question comes, if you are awakened, whether you will be able to come back to the dream. The answer is why not? Every day we dream, no? So you can go from dreaming stage to woken up stage and back.
But intellectually, I mean, like philosophically, once you kind of reach that awakening stage, would you want to go back to dreaming as well? I mean, I don't know.
Every day you sleep and dream, no? Some Ajaya say once you are awakened. I asked this to Sadhguru, I had a debate. I asked him this question, so what? I asked rationally, no? At least my limited rationality will ask. I become enlightened. I said, so what? Then what? Actually, there is no answer. Even he didn't give a proper answer. Because there is no actual answer. It's not his fault. So what? People give vague answers like you will see the things with clarity and all those things. I have tried to find this answer through Buddha, Krishna. Nobody gives a proper answer actually, to be very frank. You are enlightened, so what? They only say you experience it, we cannot explain.
Right.
One of the best answers I got was from a sadhu in Vrindavan. He told me, can I explain the sweetness of laddu if you have never eaten laddu?
Okay.
You have to experience it.
Mm.
Imagine you have never eaten anything sweet in your life. Now try telling, I have never eaten sweet in my life. Try telling me what is sweet.
Right.
Teach me what is sweet. It's impossible.
It's very
He is
different.
saying
Yeah.
enlightenment is like that. It's an argument of convenience, but it's very difficult to counter it with logic.
Just the, I mean, I'm trying to even tell you, I'm trying to tell you what is sweet as well. Like, I mean, like forget the laddu, but like, how do I even describe sweet if you haven't tasted sweet per se? It's very difficult, I feel. I think part of it is, I think maybe limitations of language as well. I don't know.
No, because yes, limitation of language. It's because nothing can counter experience.
Right.
Experience and science also works on that basically. But what science does is, science gives some proofs and makes you to believe it. Even when we believe many things in science, which is we are believing it. We are not experimenting and seeing it. We are trusting the scientists and doing it. So one way it's also a religion if you really think. It works for us. So we will say, no, if I put the switch, whoever puts the switch, it works for us. Light comes. So science is true. Good argument. Many religious people also tell the same thing. No, I follow this meditation practice, I get a lot of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So we have experienced and we have got. I pray to God, I pray to Jesus and I got. I pray to Krishna, I pray to Allah, I got this. Who are you to question it? It has worked for him. I am not equalizing science with religion because science, greatest thing about science is it allows you questioning. Any religion which doesn't allow questioning is stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
It's just imposing you things. If you want to call your religion as a way of life or science or anything, you should allow to question and you should allow all kind of criticism, including telling the entire thing is bullshit. Provided it is your experience, that's all. I find it bullshit, accepted. I find most of the things bullshit, what is told. As I said.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't make me disrespect anything. Maybe you believe the world is made of butter and it works for you.
Go for it, yeah.
Go for it. Why should I? As long as you don't impose it on me. You don't come with a gun and say that you don't believe the world is made of butter, I am going to kill you, you are a non-believer.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter to me. You can believe world is made of rum also. You can talk any theory, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Everything is accepted as long as you don't try to thrust your belief on me through temptations or through guns or through violence.
Laws. Mm-hmm.
Or fear, it doesn't matter.
Before writing your first book, I think, just stop me if I'm wrong, I think your first book, English, was Asura, if I'm not wrong. I've heard that you wrote before writing the first book, you wrote to yourself that you would sell about 15 lakh copies.
10 lakh.
10 lakh copies, sorry. Keeping that in context, but I also want to set this up with the character Ravana. Ravana is kind of, made to be like, this materialistic or arrogant or generally like materialistic qualities, which may not be which may not be looked very dearly upon, which may not be like, very vain qualities, like a lot of vanity in Ravana at least. Do you kind of view yourself as Ravana yourself?
See, I want to dispense this notion of materialism is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Indian culture always celebrated materialism. Lakshmi is a very important god, the god of wealth. It has been a constant debate right from the Puranic times of whether knowledge is important, wealth is important, or strength is important. Whether Saraswati is important, symbolic entering. Saraswati is important, Lakshmi is important, or Parvati is, Shakti is important. The conclusion always has been all the three has to be there. With only one, there is no balance. Many times what happens, this monastic way of life which Buddha propagated, the simplicity which came through Christ, later through Gandhi. Gandhi was influenced by both these figures. They are only one aspect of life, and many of the instructions, one of my next book is that Asura Marga, why materialism is important, why Ravana like quality also is important. Because many of the instructions, like you should not have money, money is not important, you should not have, you should live a simple life, you should not have any jealousy, you should not have any anger, you should not have all these things. These are all not meant for common people.
What do you mean?
These are all meant for monks.
Mm-hmm.
You should not have, you should
Not marry per se.
marry per se,
Celibacy.
brahmacharya, celibacy. These are not meant for the grihasthas or the common people. You are looking at the wrong manual and trying to fix the wrong thing. Unless you are going into that path of monastic life, none of these are applicable to you.
Mm-hmm.
For a grihastha or the householder, even in Buddhism and especially in Hinduism, money was always celebrated. It is one of the important part of life to earn money. Money is a mark of civilization. Commerce is a mark of civilization. It is money was never shunned. It is your duty, if you are running a family for the sake of society, that you generate wealth and distribute wealth. Seeking money is a virtuous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Never shun commerce. Never shun earning money. Never shun earning of luxury. Simplicity is never celebrated in Hinduism except for monks. See how ornamental the temples are. See how the gods in the processions are dressed up. They don't go around like Gandhiji,
Mm-hmm.
in a loin cloth. It is a spectacle. They celebrate wealth. Temples celebrate wealth. Religions celebrate wealth. Marriages celebrate wealth. Display of wealth. Lakshmi, it is very important. So it's an aspect of civilization. India is a land of cities. Always was a land of cities. It was never considered as a land of villages. It's a wrong concept because to say that India is a land of villages and India lives in rural India, one way technically it is true because other parts got influenced by a lot of things from the West, which is per se is not a bad thing. And the original Indian things might be found in villages, including all its flaws like casteism and rabid casteism and other things. So villages is not a place of perfect things. Cities are much better places to live. That's why more people live in cities and want to migrate to cities because of the opportunity of wealth. Nagariga, they used to say, no, Nagarigada or civilization.
Okay.
It's a word for, is associated with nagarams or the cities, nagar. Our word for civilization itself is
Cities. Nagar.
city oriented. No, Sanskrit and Indian language words is nagarigada is your word what you use for a civilized person. Even in English has that. No, villain comes from village actually.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Etymologically, if you go, it's very fascinating. So you need to have anger when it is required. You need to have jealousy when it is required. These are all aspects of human life and none of them was shunned. So Ravana-like quality is very important as long as you don't go overboard. So if you see Ramayana, for 10,000 years it is said that Ravana ruled.
Mm-hmm.
If these aspects were bad, why was he able to rule for 10,000 years? His fall came when the balance went away. But as long as he was keeping it in balance, all these aspects of being angry, being jealousy, being fighting for what is right and all those things helped him. Because he's not a monk. He is a warrior. Civilization will go forward only if you celebrate and embrace wealth, commerce, making money, your ambitions, thinking big. And this is Asura Marga, and this is a materialistic life. So, materialism was always celebrated in India. Sex was celebrated, passion was celebrated. So, the four pillars are called Dharma, Artha, Kama, and last is Moksha. Only if you have Dharma, Artha, and Kama, the three pillars, you reach the salvation. Salvation doesn't mean later day religion made salvation to make salvation is a wrong word, wrong translation actually. Moksha is not salvation, but still, for ease of understanding, let us use the same word. Moksha, salvation, they said it is going to God and other things. It's a later day concept. Moksha is what? Moksha is achieving balance in life. For achieving balance and harmony in life, moksha is about harmony. Harmony will come only when you are ethical, dharma, and ethics depends on the society in which you live. In one society, say 100 years back, what was right need not be right now. So you are dharma, social dharma as per the society's rules and regulations. Otherwise, the government, the Raja or the government will put you in jail, or the society may shun you. So, as much as you can live with your individualism inside the code of dharma, the dharma and artha. Artha has two meanings. One is meaning of life. Second is money, wealth.
Okay.
Money, wealth. You need wealth, money, means of living, and kama. Kama has many meanings. One is having sexual passion. The other is having passion on anything on life. So you are not talking about detachment. You are not talking about celibacy or anything. These are the purusharthas. These are the things which give meanings to life. So you need ethical code, money, and passion, including sexual passion, to lead a grihastha's life, to achieve moksha. That is the harmony of life. So when you talk about you should be celibate and you should not, you should lead a simple life and all those things, you are actually going against the very nature. So these are meant for the people who want to go away from life, who want to run away from life, who run away from the cities to the forests. These are the people who goes to aranyas, the forests or the jungle, who run away from civilization. For them, all these things are important. Money is not required. A bark is only enough. One dress, celibacy is celebrated. These are only for those people, not for people like you and me.
Both of the
so earning wealth is very important in life through rightful means. Earning wealth, being ambitious, thinking big, these are all celebrated in Indian culture.
when you write, so you're writing in like the current Indian society as well. Like, are there any restrictions that you feel that if I touch this, it may not be, it either may not sell well or it may not be taken well? Do you have certain restrictions that you might put for yourself? Also, is there like an ideal society that you kind of wish for where?
There is no ideal society. Ideal society is the worst society possible.
Why is that?
Because your ideal need not be my ideal. No?
Uh-huh.
So when somebody tries to impose an ideal society, it may be heaven for some people and hell for many others.
Mm-hmm.
A good society is a society which can accept all kind of views and be indifferent to all kind of views. It may not embrace anything. A good society is where individuals can flourish. We always celebrated individualism, not collectivism. Buddhism tried to bring some collectivism and it had its own problem. The monkish life and all those things what they brought. It creates, so it was not the Christianity which first brought the church. Buddhists were the first to have a church actually.
Okay.
600, 700 Buddha Sanghas and other things. Even though they tried to have debates and all, what happens when you have churches and when you have the monks and other things? There will be a head monk, there will be a kind of dictatorship. And that is why Buddhism stagnated slowly. And Hinduism was able to come back. an ideal society, I won't use the word ideal, a good society is where all kind of opinions are celebrated, are embraced, celebrated, heard. Celebration is a very strong word. You do not celebrate all stupid ideas, but there should be space for stupid ideas also.
Mm-hmm.
There is no wrong idea. It's only a incongruous idea for that time. That's incongruous with that time. That's all. Every idea has relevance. The good thing about many of the Upanishads and other things is it contains perhaps the most stupidest ideas to most eclectic and most deep thoughts. Everything has a space. So in Puranas you can read like the world is made of sea of butter and milk, and that kind of infantilization is there. At the same time you can talk about multiverse also. Why it is there so much difference? Because no church has tried to control it and purge away what they thought is right. That is an advantage actually. Tomorrow what if somebody proves that actually the world is made of butter? You have that.
Mm-hmm.
Because all kind of ideas, there is a space for that. It is like a internet where you find the stupidest thing and the most profound thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That could be the society. So answering the other question, I am not scared to write. The kind of books I have written, you have seen, I am not scared to write anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't deliberately go to provoke anyone just because a book will sell. I want my books to sell, no doubt, but the provocation is not for selling the books. It is because, as you would have heard from my thought, it's because I am just thinking aloud. And I am not adamant about my thought also. This is what I think now, I am just putting it across. You want it, you take it. You don't like it. If it makes you think, if it makes you angry, it's also fine for me. At least it has made you think. You think about it, come back saying that whatever you are telling is stupid. Maybe I will learn something from that.
Mm-hmm. Finally, I just want to ask you, what's your daily routine like? I mean, how many hours do you... I don't want to... what is that? I don't want to bias you. Just what's your daily routine like? I mean,
I wake early in the morning, write for 3-4 hours. After that, I am free.
Early in the morning, in the sense like
4 o'clock.
Oh, that is very early. I was thinking 6:30. 4 o'clock, is it?
4
Every
to
day?
7 I write. Then 1 hour in the afternoon, something else.
So you're already halfway through your day.
I am halfway through the day.
Oh my God. Okay.
After that, I spend for reading, thinking. I don't keep on writing.
So 4 to 6:30 you write, is it? 4 to 6, 4 to 7?
4 to 7.
You write every day?
Every day, mostly. Not that I am not rigid that I won't die if I don't write a day.
At least 5 days a week?
At least 6 days a week.
At
6,
least.
7 days, sometimes 7 days a week. But occasionally it happens I have to travel and I don't want to wake up early. I feel lazy. I don't berate myself.
So that squarely puts you in like the morning person bucket, no?
I'm in morning person.
Definitely. And after that, like, you still have a long way to go. So after 7?
No, by 9:30 is something I am asleep. 9:30, 10 I am asleep. So my energy level drops. As such, my energy level has dropped. I sleep 1 hour in the afternoon, 1.5 hours.
Okay.
Then I read after that, 3-4 hours I read.
What do you read? Like, I mean,
I read anything and everything.
novels or articles?
Thrillers, novels, romance, everything I read because I am learning from everything.
Mm-hmm.
Articles I read. Because since I write current affairs column, I read a lot of newspapers. Since I write a lot of television shows, I watch a lot of shows. Since I write films, I watch a lot of films.
And the mythology aspect, like, do you have to spend a lot of time like reading mythology?
I have been reading them for, I am
Long.
48, 49 now. I have been reading for donkey's years. 5 years onwards, I am reading something or other.
You're very well versed. Like,
I am not well versed. It's an ocean, no? Not just philosophy. The world, every year 3-4 lakh books come. How can you read?
mm-hmm.
You can read perhaps 0.0001% even if you spend 5-6 hours reading a day. You won't even scratch the surface.
Right.
And every day human knowledge is expanding. So you are never going to catch up with that.
Right.
Now if Shankaracharya was alive, I laugh when they say he reached the Sarvajna Vedam. No, he reached the epitome of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
What we have now every day in the internet, only wisdom you can reach, not knowledge. Wisdom can be reached without knowledge also.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge keeps on, human knowledge keeps on expanding, and the world, the information available in the world, the universe is so huge that even if it keeps on expanding at this pace, we won't even scratch the surface of what is available, the information available. So much left to explore. That's what makes life so exciting also.
On that note, Anand, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.